We're introduced to our two main characters. Our MC comes across a beautiful girl with her foot stuck in a gutter. She exclaims to the MC to stop staring at her, to which she looks back at her, unsure of what to say. The MC comments that it's impossible not to look as her foot is stuck perfectly in the gutter. She replies that she didn't do it on purpose. The girl complains that she can't go to work like this as she smells like a sewer. The MC then asks her what time does her shift start. She tells him that it starts at 5. The MC looks at his phone and says that she might have enough time to go home, but the girl says she lives an hour away, so it's not possible. The MC then asks the girl to come to his place as she can use the shower there. The girl with mud on her face thanks the MC and says she'd take him up on that offer at the MC's apartment. His heart is beating as he can't believe that he had actually offered his show for her to use. He continues to explain that her name is Shino Yuzoki and she is his classmate. She sits behind him in class, but they've never talked. Because of her beauty, she is somewhat of a celebrity at their school. As an otaku, he never thought that their paths would ever cross. Now we see him pacing around in his room, trying to justify the logic behind his decision. He starts to panic, and his imagination starts to run wild. Realizing that a girl is taking a shower in his house, the door opens, which causes the MC to jolt in shock. Yuzoki thanks the MC for the clothes that he lent her. He replies that it's all goods and gives her a paper bag to put her dirty clothes in. He tells her to drop them off for express cleaning on her way to work and pick them up when she finished her shift. He concludes asking her to leave. Yuzoki looks at the MC grumpily and asks him why is he suddenly being cold to her. He looks at her in confusion. She sympathizes with the MC's attitude, saying that he's probably worried that his parents would freak out if they saw that their son had brought a girl home. He tells her that her teasing is pointless and adds that he lives alone as his parents work overseas. Yuzoki takes a moment and clarifies that he is living alone. She then asks the MC if he's got any naughty magazines lying around. She crouches down and starts looking around for those magazines. The MC tells her to stop and Yuzoki starts laughing, saying that her instinct was right. He embarrassingly exclaims that there's only manga and no such naughty magazines, and he tells her to get out. She tells him that he should calm down and ends her sentence with mu. The MC asks her if she's turning into a cow or something, and Yuzoki affirms that cows are indeed adorable. While she was saying this, let's just say her udders were bouncing, if you know what I mean. The MC pushes her out, locks the door and sits down, leaning his back against the door. A large collection of books fall to the ground, creating a loud thud sound. The MC thinks to himself that it's best if he gets rid of his collection of erotic books in case someone comes to his house like Yuzoki did and snoops around for his magazines. At school, Yuzuki approaches the MC and says that she's returning the clothes that she had borrowed yesterday. She also had made sweets for him at her workplace. She goes on to thank him again for letting her use his shower. This statement causes an uproar among the other students. Murmurs begin and students ask each other if what they heard was correct. The MC rubs his forehead and thinks to himself that he's standing out in the worst way possible. Thinking to himself that he just wants to live a normal high school life, when the MC arrives home, he closes the door and sighs, thinking about how tiring his day was. He pulls out his clothes from the paper bag that Yuzoki returned to him. A note slips out of the bag which catches the MC's attention. On the piece of paper is Yuzoki's contact information. The MC trembles, thinking that it must be some sort of prank where if he rings the number, a scary guy will show up to his house. He then scrumples up the paper and chucks it in the bin. The next day when the MC arrives to school, still feeling the gazes of students due to yesterday's events. As he makes his way through the corridors, more and more students gossip about him and Yuzoki. The chatter continues whilst the MC thinks to himself that he wants to go home. Class has started, and whilst the teacher is writing on the chalkboard, the MC is hunched over his desk and Yuzoki is poking his back with her pen. The MC tries ignoring her, but Yuzoki persists with her pen poking. Lunch begins and the MC thinks that the gazes from others should hopefully start to stop. As he's about to turn a corner, he can hear Yuzoki's friends asking her if she actually went to the MC's house. She goes into detail, saying that she even borrowed his clothes as well. Her friends are surprised and ask if the MC is her type, but she just thought he was a kind person. While her friends are giggling, she explains that she stepped in a gutter and was freaking out as she had work later on and couldn't go because of her stench. That's when the MC stepped in and offered his show for her to use. She says that she followed him because she knew that he had no ulterior motives and wouldn't try anything funny. Her friend says that just goes to show how much she trusted him, as Yuzoki is very quick to shut someone down as she thinks they have suspicious ideas. They ask her if she's ever dated a guy before. She shakes her head, saying that she's not good with guys. The teacher catches the MC and asks him what he's doing, to which he replies that he's doing nothing. The MC heads back to the classroom, thinking that Yuzoki isn't a bad person after all. As soon as class starts, Yuzoki continues with her pen poking, but the MC continues to ignore her as he doesn't want to attract any more attention. The poking continues the next day and the day after as well. The MC decides to confront her directly, but when he turns around, he sees Yuzoki with an upset expression. He stutters, asking her why she is looking at him like that. Yuzoki replies that she's been waiting, but the MC asks her what she was waiting for. She turns her head away from the MC in disappointment. She mumbles under her breath that she had put a note in the paper bag, but the MC couldn't hear what she was saying. From that moment on, the poking as well as the stares from others stopped. Although the MC was able to return to his normal life, he holds his chest in agony as he feels guilty. The MC thinks about Yuzoki's sad expression and can't get it out of his head. The MC clenches his fist and decides that he'll pretend that he didn't see anything so that everything can truly go back to normal. As he approaches his house, he notices the gloomy sky. Rain starts pouring down as the MC watches the weather report while drinking a cup of coffee. The news broadcaster says that the rain is caused by a typhoon which hit a nearby location around 2 hours ago. While staring out the window, the MC hears his doorbell ring. He looks at the time, thinking who it could be, especially during a typhoon. The ringing continues, which forces the MC to go and answer to the door. He checks the camera and sees Yuzoki standing outside, talking to him through the speaker. The MC rushes to go grab a towel. Once he does, he opens the door, to which she apologizes for showing up to his house at such a late time. Yuzoki explains that when she was heading home, the trains got shut down due to the typhoon. She then asks the MC if she can stay over at his house tonight. The thermometer of the bath dings and the MC leads Yuzoki to his bathroom, telling her that the bath is ready. He hands her some spare clothes and pushes her into the bathroom, saying that she can't wear a wet uniform. He slams the door close and takes a deep sigh. She opens the door, saying that the MC won't get popular if he's that rough with girls. He replies, saying that he doesn't live to be popular. She mutters quietly to herself in the shower, saying that him not being the type to do weird stuff makes her curious about him. The MC thinks to himself what she's muttering on about. He gets shy as he can see Yuzoki taking off her clothes. He thinks to himself that he could peep like characters do in manga, but reminds himself that only happens in fiction. He remembers that Yuzoki's friends said that she's not great with guys. He recalls their first meeting and remembers that she did seem pretty standoffish. However, she became more friendly with him after he had offered her his shower. The MC thinks that Yuzoki is taking a very long time in the shower. The bathroom door opens and Yuzoki walks out, which causes the MC to blush. We see Yuzoki wearing the pajamas that the MC lent her. She walks towards the couch and sits directly next to the MC. He says that she was in the bath for quite a while. The MC says that he's usually done in 10 minutes. This shocks Yuzoki, and she asks if that's just a guy thing, to which the MC replies, saying that he doesn't know as he doesn't have friends. He then asks Yuzoki if he can ask her a question. He understands that her house is pretty far and thus isn't a walkable distance, but he asks her if it's okay that she stays over at his place. She acknowledges that her parents would definitely freak out. That's why she had told them that she is staying over at a girl's house. She tells the MC that she's never lied like this before, so her parents trust her, so it'll be fine. He asks her if she didn't think of asking any of her friends that are girls first. She says that she didn't want to suddenly impose on any of them, which the MC finds confusing. She also adds that his place was the first one that popped into her head, but to think about what they're going to do about her school uniform, as all the 24 laundromats are probably closed. She says that she have to wash it herself and asks the MC if he has any laundry detergent as well as a spare bucket. When Yuzoki is washing her uniform, she points out to the MC the warning tag on their school uniform. It explains that the tag says that their uniforms can't be washed in a washing machine. He's shocked about that, as well as her ability to do chores despite her being a gal. She turns around and says that that's just a stereotype. The MC apologizes to her for jumping to conclusions. She says that she understands, but gives him a tip to differentiate gals who do and don't do housework. She says that their nails are a big giveaway. Most gals have flashy nails, but these aren't practical when doing chores. She goes on, saying that her family aren't rich, so she helps out by doing chores with her little sister. She works at a cafe for money and doesn't do up her nails as her job is a food service job. He tells her that hearing her story is changing his perception of her. He now sees her as someone who's got their act together. There's a brief silence before she thanks the MC, saying that talking to him is very fun. He thinks to himself that at school she probably just wanted to chat normally with him like they're doing now, but he was pushing her away. He becomes sad, which makes Tsubaki worried, asking if he's got a stomach ache or something. He tells her no and says that he wants to help out with her laundry. She tells him not to sweat it, but the MC says that he wants to help and reaches for the clothes in the bucket. She holds out her hands, signaling for the MC to stop. The MC looks at her with a puzzled expression. Yuzoki mutters quietly that she needs to wash her underwear herself. The MC remembers seeing some red fabric in the bucket, which isn't part of their school uniform. He thinks about seeing her soaked due to the rain and concludes that it's obvious that her underwear would get soaked as well. He apologizes to Yuzoki and leaves the room. Yuzoki returns to the living room and awkwardly walks behind the MC. He asks her if she's finished and she says yes, and also adds that she used the dryer. Yuzoki sits down next to the MC, which he awkwardly turns away from her. She asks him if he's got anything fun to do. The MC agrees and goes to look for something for them to do. He rummages through his cupboard and he finds an old game console he used to play with his friends. He shows Yuzoki the game console, which excites her, but to play what looks like to be an off-brand version of Mario Kart. The MC gets a useful item which could allow him to get into first place, but Yuzoki tells him not to use it so she can win. She starts taunting the MC, saying that it looks like victory is hers. As she says this, the MC gets an item that allows him to switch positions with any player he wants. She menacingly asks him if he's going to use the item, to which he sees that he doesn't care about winning or losing. Yuzoki sighs with relief, but the MC decides to use the item as it'd be a waste not to. She calls the MC a liar and starts hitting him out of frustration. She repeatedly calls him an idiot when all of a sudden, there's a thunderous boom which causes a power outage. The MC says that the timing was perfect as they should go to sleep now. Yuzoki checks her phone and sees that it's already past midnight. Yuzoki asks the MC where she will sleep and the MC says that she can use the bed in his room. The MC says that for the night he will sleep on the sofa. The MC tells Yuzoki that he doesn't have any spare futons or rooms. He tells her not to worry as letting a girl sleep on the couch is pretty scummy. He assures her to relax and sleep in the bed. Yuzuki giggles and agrees. Yuzuki asks the MC where his room is. The MC turns on his phone flashlight to lead the way. Yuzuki grabs his hand and squeezes it. She tells the MC for them to go to his room whilst holding hands. The MC exclaims that her hands are cold, to which Yuzuki says that there's a superstition that says people with cold hands are kind. He denies this superstition, but Yuzoki retorts saying that he's wrong. The MC then suddenly thanks Yuzoki. She asks her why and he reiterates that she is kind. Even though he was being distant, she still kept treating him normally. That's why he wanted to say thank you. He says that he thinks she must be the kindest girl in the world. There's a moment of silence between the two which is broken when the MC says that he'll show her to his room. While they're walking through the hallway, he notes that her hand is trembling and asks if she's scared. When they arrive at his room, she rushes into the room, slams the door close and wishes the MC good night. The MC returns back to the living room, debating on whether or not to stay up late and watch anime. In the room, we see Yuzoki blushing underneath the bed covers. The next morning, Yuzoki wakes the MC, hitting his forehead with a ladle spoon. She parts saying that he's finally awake whilst the MC is rubbing the place where she hit him. The MC notes that something smells nice and is shocked when he sees 2 trays of food laid out on the table. Yuzoki said she made breakfast for them. When she woke up this morning, she went to the store to buy some ingredients as the supermarkets were open. The MC reaches for his wallet to get out some money, but Yuzoki hits him again with the ladle spoon. She asks him why he is taking out his wallet, to which he replies to pay her back for the money she spent on the groceries. She replies, saying that it was cheap, so not to worrying about. She tells him that she doesn't want his money and just wants an honest thanks like he did last night. The MC is about to argue with her but realizes what she's getting at and thanks her. She smiles cheerfully and tells him that's what she wanted to hear. Yuzoki then says that they should eat the food while it's hot. After breakfast they head to school and both say that it's their first time going to school with someone of the opposite gender. Yuzuki runs in front of him and turns around to face the MC whilst holding a piece of paper. She slips the paper into his breast pocket and says that it's her contact information. She had put her contact info in the paper bag with the clothes that she returned, but concludes that the MC might have not seen it. This time, she tells the MC not to lose it as she'd be waiting patiently for his message. She notes that his face is turning red, but the MC denies this, saying that it's due to the reflection from a puddle. She continues to tease him, but he tells her that it's just her imagination. The two continue walking and laughing, but the closer that they get to school, the more students start taking notice of them. Students start becoming more vocal as they suspect that the two may be in a relationship. The MC can hear their comments, saying that Yuzuki is probably under hypnosis or a magical spell. Yuzuki is oblivious to this and says that she feels that people are looking at her more than usual. She wonders why that is, and the MC says that it'd be best if they keep their distance when they're at school. She asks him why and says that he's being cold to her all of a sudden. The MC says not to worry as they can talk outside of school, as he promises to message her tonight. Her eyes glimmer and she tells him that he better remember his promise. She waves back at him and joins up with her friends. When she turns away from him, the MC hides his blushing face with the piece of paper Yuzuki gave her. In the classroom, the students still talk about the MC and Yuzuki walking into school together. However, them deciding to keep their distance from each other seems to be working, as the students notice that they are ignoring each other. Just when he thinks this, a teacher calls out his name. We're introduced to the MC's homeroom and chemistry teacher, Kyoko no Koka. She asks the MC for help with something. The MC looks at her with disappointment, asking how she noticed him, as he usually tries to avoid getting noticed. She grabs him by the tie and tells him that they're going now. But to make their way to the school history archive, the teacher states that she needs the MC's assistance in sorting out the documents on the table in front of them. While they're sorting out the documents, the teacher makes small talk with the MC. She tells the MC that she's heard that he's gotten pretty friendly with Yuzuki. This causes the MC to cough out of shock. She follows this up saying that it's been the latest talk amongst the teachers. The MC explains that they only talk because they sit close to each other in class. He tells her that they should focus on sorting the documents instead of gossiping. The teacher says that it's rare to see Yuzuki getting along with a guy, as she's not just comfortable with male students, but also some male teachers as well. The teacher says that if she senses that a guy is seeing her as a girl for a second, she instantly go on the defensive, and the teacher deduces that this might be caused by some unpleasant past experiences that she may have had. However, half of the world is male, so she needs to be able to be comfortable around men. She concludes saying that's the reason why the MC should date Yuzuki. The MC looks at her blankly, but the teacher says that she's not being funny, as there's a solid reason for this statement of hers. The MC asks what it is, and the teacher says to help Yuzuki overcome her aversion to men. She says it benefits him also, as dating could turn his dreary school life into a more happy and fun one. The MC pauses for a brief moment before asking the teacher about considering Yuzuki's feelings first. The MC says that he simply just doesn't feel that way towards her, especially since he only started getting to know her recently. The teacher interrupts and says that he's thinking like a baiter. She says reason and time don't matter when it comes to love, as when the more you start, the harder it is for you to pinpoint why. She turns to the MC and points at him, saying that liking someone for a particular reason is shallow, as that means they only like that person for that specific reason. Teacher was cooking. She tells the MC that he needs to unleash his inner warmth. At home, the MC shuts his door close and lays on his bed exhausted. He grabs his phone as he remembers his promise to Yuzuki. The MC is fiddling with his phone, trying to find the add friend button on the app. He thinks to himself what he should send for his first message and remembers his teacher's advice. He pauses for a moment before deciding that overthinking is pointless and just needs to send a simple reply to let her know that she's been added. He messages her it's Fujiwara and is exhausted, surprised by the amount of mental energy needed to send just one message. A notification pops up and the MC is shocked to see that Yuzuki replied already. He comments that it hasn't even been a minute since he messaged her and is frustrated as he knows that he has to reply as well. All of a sudden, his phone gets bombarded with messages from Yuzuki. The MC can't keep up with all of the messages and sends a reply, saying that since it's his first time messaging a friend on an app, he lines be slow to reply or off in timing. As they message back and forth, the MC learns about stamps and how to use them. Yuzuki asks the MC if he has any plans next Sunday, to which the MC says no. Yuzoki then asks the MC if she can come over to his place and practice making sweets with him. He says that's okay, but prefaces that he has no experience in making sweets. They end their conversation and wish each other good night. The next day at school, but to keep their distance from another, but Yuzoki still sneaks a glance occasionally as the Sunday arrives, and we see the MC waiting at the train station platform. A train pulls into the platform that the MC is standing on and the doors open. The MC calls out to Yuzoki. Yuzoki notices the MC and apologizes for making him wait for so long. He tells her not to worry as he came at the time that she messaged him online. She giggles to herself, saying that the MC is getting the hang of using line. The MC looks at Yuzoki's clothes and blushes because of how cute she looks. She apologizes to the MC as when she was leaving the house, the little girl that's standing behind her wanted to tag along. The girl stares directly at the MC while still hiding behind Yuzoki. The MC asks her if the girl is her child, and Yuzoki shouts no. She blushes and says that having a child that age already is impossible for a high school girl. Yuzoki adds that she's still a virgin but realizes what she had said and told the MC to forget about that. Yuzoki says that the girl is her little sister. The girl introduces herself as Mickey and the MC introduces himself to her. Yuzoki apologizes for bringing Mickey without asking. She did try telling her to stay home so she wouldn't bother the MC. The MC asks Mickey if she loves her big sister, to which Mickey replies that she does. Yuzoki then glares at Mickey. The MC asks Yuzoki what's the matter, and Yuzoki says that Mickey is very mischievous. She acts innocent in front of people, but becomes a troublemaker once she's gotten to know a person. The two sisters have an argument about what happened yesterday, to which Yuzoki says that she is still mad at Mickey. The MC chimes in saying to Yuzoki that he doesn't know what happened, but she shouldn't be mad at Mickey. Mickey shouts that small melons can fit in Yuzoki's bra. This causes both the MC and Yuzoki to blush. Yuzoki embarrassingly tells Mickey that she shouldn't have played with her bra like that. Mickey says that it's Yuzoki's fault for having massive udders, which causes the MC to malfunction. The MC decides to block his ears. Mickey takes notice of this and tells Yuzoki that she thought that the friend that she was going to meet up with was a girl. She asks Yuzoki if it's okay for her to keep it a secret from their parents. To which Yuzoki says that they're not in that kind of relationship yet. Mickey asks Yuzoki to go into detail about what she meant by relationship, as well as when she said not yet. She tells Yuzoki that she keep her secrets safe on one condition: she needs to kiss the MC. She asks Yuzoki if she actually likes the MC, and Yuzoki replies that she probably does whilst fidgeting. Yuzoki whispers into Mickey's ear, telling her that she does like the MC, that she should make her move today. The MC turns around to see if the sisters are done arguing and sees Yuzoki's blushing face. The MC awkwardly interrupts, asking if they should head up to his place. The sisters agree, but Yuzoki blushes, still thinking about what Mickey had said. Mickey curiously wanders around the interior of the building. Yuzoki tells Mickey to behave herself, but the MC tells her it's okay as everyone usually keeps to themselves. Mickey teases her sister, saying that she hopes that Yuzoki will fulfill the promise she made. The MC asks what is the promise, but Yuzoki tells him not to worry about it. Mickey shouts that she found the elevator and that they should hurry to the MC's house. The MC takes note of how many tools are required in order to make sweets. Yuzoki says that they'll need to use an oven, but the MC says that he doesn't have one. However, Yuzoki said that she found an oven in an unopened box the last time she was at the MC's house. While they're talking, Yuzoki asks the MC where Mickey is. Both can't see her in the living room, so end up going to go look for her. Before they're about to split up and look for her, the MC finds Mickey lying on the sofa. Yuzoki starts getting angry and Mickey looks at Yuzoki, saying that she looks scary. Yuzoki shouts at Mickey, telling her to listen, and that doing whatever she wants is rude and causing a hassle for the MC. Mickey blatantly ignores Yuzoki and tells her that she leave the cooking to them too. Yuzoki's head drops and asks her why she is acting like that. She starts tearing up, saying that the MC will start hating her. Mickey calls out to Yuzoki and asks her if she has the second volume of the manga that she's reading. The MC can see that Yuzoki is shaking in anger and tells Mickey that he'll go get it when he's about to pass her. He faces Yuzoki and pats her head gently. He suddenly realizes what he is doing and instantly retracts his hands. He says to Yuzoki that they forgot the ingredients for the sweets and that they should go shopping to get them. When they arrive to the store, Yuzoki whispers to Mickey to behave. Miki says to Yuzoki that the mood was nice back in the apartment. Yuzoki asks Miki if she was rude on purpose to get the MC to pat her head. Miki replies yes with a smug expression, but Yuzoki begins to doubt. Miki encourages Yuzoki, saying that the MC almost fell for her when he patted her head. She tells Yuzoki to fake an accident and go for a kiss. Miki says that she disappear into the arcade to give them some alone time, but in order to do that, she need enough money for the games. Miki eggs on Yuzoki, saying that if Yuzoki takes too long, the MC might get annoyed and dislike her. Yuzoki listens to Miki, giving her opinion some thought. She clenches the strap of her bag, telling Miki that she's made up her mind and that she seriously go for it. Miki tells Yuzoki and the AMC to take their time and enjoy. She assures them she'd be okay by herself as the arcade is close by and there's many people around. She sneaks in a remark at Yuzoki, telling her that it's best that she worries about herself. Yuzoki gives Miki 500 yen and Miki sulks, saying that it's barely enough for her to play anything at the arcade. The MC says that they may take a while and reaches for his wallet and gives Miki another 500 yen coin. Miki thanks the MC as she now has 1,000 yen in total. As thanks, she wants to let the MC in on a little secret. The MC kneels down and Miki whispers that sometimes Yuzuki can miss steps on stairs, and if this happens, the MC needs to catch her if she does. She tells him this because she thinks it'll happen today. Miki abruptly leaves, leaving the MC confused. Yuzaki tells the MC that he didn't need to give her money. But the MC replies that kids that age like to play when they're out. Yuzaki tells the MC that he's the type to totally spoil his kids if he has any. If he was to get married, he would be a very kind dad. The MC denies this, saying that he's a loner and doubts that he'll ever meet a girl. Yuzoki corrects him, saying that there are loners that still get married, and that he did meet a girl, one that's standing near him right now. The ANC robs the back of his head, unsure of what to say to Yuzoki. Both blush, but Yuzoki pouts in disappointment. Both leave the supermarket with all of their ingredients in a paper bag as they're about to go pick up Miki. They notice that both the elevator and escalator are crowded with people. Yuzoki points to the stairs and suggests using them to get to the arcade, which is on the second floor. The MC walks first and is startled when he hears a scream coming from behind him. It's Yuzoki who wobbles and begins to fall. The MC sticks out his hand, getting ready to catch her. Yuzoki falls into the MC's embrace, and the momentum of her fall causes both of them to fall to the ground. Yuzoki's lips manages to perfectly collide with the MC's lips as well. What a coincidence. Even the MC thinks this as well. Just then, a figure suddenly appears and Yuzoki quickly jerks her head up to see who it is. We see that it's Miki, saying that it was a pretty big fall. Yuzoki maintains her gaze with the MC while blushing. She thanks the MC for catching her and awkwardly brings up their accidental kiss. The MC blushes and says that they just did something that only couples do. Yuzoki abruptly says that she feels too distant when he uses the MC's last name, so from now on, she called the MC by his first name, Sunday. She then confesses to the MC that she has feelings for him and asks him for his opinion of her. Yuzoki dips her head, acknowledging that it's probably hard for the MC to respond. He asks her why she likes him, to which Yuzoki replies that she can't help it. She adds on that to her, the MC is a really nice guy. The MC tries downplaying her comment, saying that she only confessed because she got caught up in the moment. But Yuzoki affirms to him that it wasn't, and that was her first ever confession, which took her a lot of courage to do. She asks him how it felt to receive her first ever kiss. She asks as she wore lip balm, and the MC did admit that it was sweet. The MC says Yuzoki's name, but Yuzoki pinches his cheek, telling him not to call her that anymore and use her first name, Shino. She tells him not to think about it too much, as she just wanted to tell him her feelings. She'd be happy if the feeling was mutual, but if not, she'd give up. She admits that she'd probably cry but try to cope, as she doesn't want to be clingy. The three return back to the MC's apartment. While they're eating, the two sisters whispered to one another. Miki praises her sister's bravery to confess, but Yuzoki said that Miki was the one who told her to do so. Miki says that she was giving advice about kissing she didn't say to Yuzoki to confess. After eating, the three head back to the train station. Miki and Yuzoki farewell the MC and head into the train. The MC then decides to take a rest on a nearby seat. He processes the kiss again and is still in disbelief that he got confessed to. He tries calming himself down, but it's pointless, as all he can think about is the confession. The MC pulls out his phone to check the time and sees a message from Yuzoki. He opens the message and Yuzoki says that she stopped texting him until he's ready to not pressure him. The MC sighs in relief, thankful that he's been given some time to think over it properly. In class, they try to avoid eye contact with one another. The MC reflects that it's been very awkward ever since as he's been avoiding her. While looking out the window, he notices Yuzoki's reflection in the glass. He can see her sad expression and thinks to himself that he wants to see her smile. He reflects that he's been a loner for very long and always ran away from making tough decisions. Deep down, he knew what he wanted but was too scared to admit his feelings. He thinks about how terrible of a person he is and turns on his phone underneath his desk. Yuzoki's phone buzzes in her pocket. She looks at her phone and her face goes completely. Yuzoki trembles with joy whilst tears start rolling down her cheek. The MC narrates that with that, at the end of his second year of high school, the gal who sits behind him has become his girlfriend. We see the MC kneeling at the front door and Yuzoki entering his apartment, exclaiming that she's finished her shift at her part-time. She then holds out her hands and asks the MC for the usual. Both have an intimate kiss and the MC asks Yuzoki if tangerine is the flavor for today. Yuzoki winks at him, saying that he is correct. She changed her lip gloss as 2 days ago she used vanilla and yesterday she used strawberry. She asks the MC which one does he like. The MC says that he likes whatever she likes, but Yuzoki says that she wants to know his personal favorite. The MC gives in and tells her that he'll pick. Whilst he's deciding, Yuzoki watches in anticipation. The MC decides strawberry and Yuzoki nods in agreement. The MC thinks about the taste as well as the scent, but when he opens his eyes, he sees that Yuzoki has already reapplied her strawberry lip balm. The next day at school, the teacher calls out to the MC, not wanting anything but felt that the MC has changed recently. When she asks if it's associated with Yuzoki, the MC stutters. The teacher encourages him and tells the MC good luck. Back at the MC's apartment, we see that they're playing video games. Yuzoki is sitting on the MC's lap and is about to lose but comes up with a plan. She goes in for a kiss which causes the MC to drop his controller. Yuzoki uses this opportunity to overtake the MC. Yuzoki gloats that she had won, but the MC complains that what she did wasn't fair. The MC checks the time and sees that it's approaching the time of Yuzoki's train that she needs to catch. He asks her if she's going to come to his apartment again tomorrow, to which she replies, saying of course. While walking to the train station, the MC asks Yuzoki if it's hard for her to come to his place every day after work. Yuzoki says not at all, as it's the best part of her day. Yuzoki brings up that she feels like people at school are noticing something. Even though they try not to talk to each other at school, the MC inquires what this something is. She says that it seems that people have started to suspect their relationship. The MC says that he tries his best to be careful, but admits that he sometimes glances at her. Yuzoki tells the MC that she doesn't want to hide their relationship anymore. She wants to brag to everyone that they're dating and she wants to show off her amazing boyfriend. She swivels around to face the MC and asks if that's okay. He thinks about it and says that the reason why they were avoiding each other was to prevent any weird rumors, but now that they're officially a couple, they shouldn't need to do that anymore. The MC says that they shouldn't start suddenly acting like a couple in class, as it could chaos and stir up trouble, and let them spread the word. The MC agrees with this idea. Yuzoki says that she's excited for school the next day and tells the MC to prepare himself, as she'd be giving him hotter glances from behind him in class. At school the next day, the MC farewells Yuzoki, who is going to her part-time job. When Yuzoki leaves, someone calls out to the MC. A group of 5 girls approach the MC, which causes him to be on guard. One of the girls asks if the two are dating. They've heard from Yuzoki about their relationship, but they're all still pretty shocked. The girls notice how on guard the MC is and tells him to relax. The girls tells them that they're not hurt to diss him because they trust Yuzoki's intuition that the MC's a good guy. However, the reason they approached him was because they needed his help. The MC sweats, asking what kind of help they need. The girls say that they have a meetup they're going to later tonight and want the MC to join them. Yuzoki always rejects their offers, so they want the MC to come to force her to come to the meetup. A lot of guys from other schools and even universities will show up if Yuzoki is there. The girls tell the MC that Yuzoki is popular even outside of school, so much so that she even gets scouted to be a model. The MC has asked them if that's true, as he was unaware of this. One of the girls asks him if he's available to go with them right now. The MC takes a moment before saying to the girls that he understands what they're trying to say, but is unsure as he knows Yuzoki isn't good with guys. He tells them that it's best if they give it up, as the guys that show up will be disappointed if Yuzoki is there with her boyfriend. One of the girls interrupts him, saying that it's beneficial for both them and the MC. This could be an opportunity for the MC to show that Yuzoki is taken. He could tell the other guys to not hit on Yuzoki anymore. They start to sway the MC, and the girls pick up on this. They make their argument, saying that him telling other guys to get lost will make her happy. They keep fantasizing on how this could definitely solidify their relationship. Their constant talking begins to overwhelm the MC. The girls ask the MC to get a makeover as if they bring him to the meetup. They want him to look super cool. All the girls raise their hands in agreement. The MC is startled and asks them what they mean about makeup. One of the girls whisper that if the MC becomes cooler, it would definitely make Yuzoki happier. The MC thinks to himself that Yuzoki must like him for who he is, but wonders if there are times where she wishes he was more manlier or cooler. In the end, the girls bring the MC along. At the beauty parlor, one of the staff members awkwardly asks how he can help them. The girls ask the guy to turn the MC, who is awkwardly hugging his bag, into a hot guy. The girls look at the options of styles for the MC. The MC asks if he has any say, to which the girls say to leave it to them. Meanwhile, the guy asks the MC if he's okay, and the MC apologizes for the commotion. The girls look at the MC, who's staring with a gloomy expression. The girls stop arguing and say that the style they choose needs to make Yuzoki the happiest. That's the most important thing. The girls apologize to the MC and try to remember what Yuzoki's preferences were. They realize that Yuzoki never shared her preferences with them. One says that because the MC is more on the plain side, the style they choose shouldn't deviate from that plain look of his too much. They decide on a style and tells the MC their choice. He sits on the chair and the barber starts cutting his hair. Some of the girls are also recording the haircut on their phones. In the end, we see the MC with the length of his hair severely reduced. The girls look at the MC, impressed by the transformation. The barber explains that although his face is plain, he definitely has some good parts that can now be seen thanks to the haircut. One of the girls take a photo and the MC gets embarrassed, hoping that he doesn't look weird. The girls look at the photo and are surprised about how good the MC looks. The MC asks if he can leave now, but the girls say no, as they need to buy him some new clothes and shoes. We see the MC now looking like a Chad. Even the girls comment about how good looking he's, the point where they wouldn't mind dating the MC. The MC looks at his phone, noting that soon Yuzoki will be arriving at his house and that he should head back soon. He hopes that Yuzoki will be happy with his new look. One of the girls says that she just messaged Yuzoki that they took the MC to get a makeover. Yuzoki replied to her message that when her shift is finished she come and meet with them. The MC says he's not ready, but one of the girls see Yuzoki running from the distance. We see Yuzoki out of breath, running towards them, and the MC turning around to face her. Yuzoki hunts the MC, telling him that he can't. She ruffles his hair and tells him that he can't become hot or else other girls will start noticing him. She shouts at her friends that they shouldn't have taken the MC for a makeover, as he was fine as he was before. The MC is lost for words as Yuzoki is very sad. He looks at the girls for help, but they awkwardly look away, trying to avoid eye contact. They're shocked with how much Yuzoki has fallen for the MC and decide to run away. The MC shouts for their attention. He's about to chase after them, but Yuzoki grabs onto the sleeve of his jumper. She then asks him where is he going? The MC asks her what does she mean, and Yuzoki asks if he was just going to leave her standing there. The MC said no, saying that he's just not sure of what to do. Yuzoki calls the MC a dork and tells him that if he's not sure what to do, he should just ask her. Yuzoki starts crying and tells the MC that is her boyfriend. He should be confident and ask her if he doesn't know what to do. The MC tries apologizing, but she tells him not to. He gets closer and asks her what she wants him to do then. She looks him in the eye and says huggy. The MC looks at her in confusion, and Yuzoki says that she wants him to hug her. He hugs her and starts stroking her hair. Yuzoki says that her hair will get messed up if he keeps stroking her hair like that. He takes his hand away and apologizes, but she says not to stop. He said he thought she said to stop, but Yuzoki starts crying again, saying that she didn't tell him not to stop. She exclaims that if another girl approaches him, he absolutely can't befriend her. The MC realizes that his actions have caused Yuzoki to become insecure, and he tells her that she doesn't have to worry about that. He holds her hands, saying that he's always been a loner, so he's hardly popular. Yuzoki says that there's girls who are into loners like him. The MC reassures her that his biggest concern is if Yuzoki would dump him or not in the future. She buries her face into his chest, saying that she would never do that. The MC explains to her what happened and that he thought that him getting a makeover would make her happy. She looks at the MC in disappointment and tells him to seriously think about what had happened. Yuzoki gives the MC an example in which the roles were reversed and a guy took her out to get a makeover that would make her cuter. How would that make the MC feel? He says that it certainly wouldn't make him feel happy. She's happy that the MC understands and forbids him from doing stuff like that ever again. Yuzoki gets out her phone and types furiously on the screen, also saying to the MC that she is not going to that meetup. The phone rings and Yuzoki shouts furiously at one of the girls that she called that she never go to any meetup. The friends have an intense back and forth argument as the MC watches in fear in the background. The girls say that they wanted to get boyfriends as well, but Yuzoki tells them they just need to make an effort like she did. The girls over the speaker congratulate the MC for getting Yuzoki to be completely head over heels for him, but Yuzoki tells them to stop teasing him and hangs up the call. Yuzoki pulls at his sleeve again and tells the MC that she wants to reset. She puckers up her lips and closes her eyes, signaling for a kiss. They kiss, and the MC caresses her cheek. Yuzoki moves her head back first and says that kiss was way longer than normal, but the MC said that her breath sounded cute and wanted to hear it over and over again. Yuzoki embarrassingly tells the MC that she gets it. She struts off, but walks into a nearby pole. He gently grabs her hand and says that he wants to hold it. She looks back at him and smiles, saying that she loves him, and that causes the MC to blush. The MC looks at Yuzoki and says that he can see why she's so popular even outside of school as she's so cute. This startles Yuzoki and she asks the MC if he's the one that's becoming insecure now. This reminds Yuzoki that there's a place she wants to go tomorrow with him that's related to a method that'll let people outside of their school know about their relationship. At school the next day, the teacher dismisses the class and Yuzoki grabs the MC from behind, saying that school's finally over. She reminds the MC of his promise, to which he said that he didn't forget. He then says to Yuzoki that he thought that they were still keeping the fact they're dating somewhat of a secret. Yuzoki tells him to shush and leads him by the hand out of the classroom. The students in the classroom watch in disbelief. Through the school hallways, the couple move and attract the attention of other students. Some of the girls talk about the MC, saying that they thought he was plain, but looking at him again, he looks unexpectedly cool. Other girls remember Yuzoki bragging about how nice the MC is and mention how lucky Yuzoki is to have caught the MC. More girls stare and the MC blushes as he can tell that they're talking about him and Yuzoki. Yuzoki says that definitely spread the news in school about their relationship. She looks back to the MC and teases him, saying that in all honesty, she just wanted to show everyone that she's the one that takes the reins in the relationship. The MC smiles, thinking about how refreshing Yuzoki's upfront personality is. After crossing the road, she points out to the MC that they've arrived. They arrive to a luxurious-looking building. The MC says that it looks like a place where girls would love to visit. When they enter, he looks at the counter and sees an advertisement saying that every day is Ladies' Day, so everything is 30% off. The MC looks around the cafe and says to Yuzoki that it's quite an amazing place. Yuzoki said that she picked this place for her part-time as only girls come here. She tells the MC to take a seat and wait for her. He awkwardly sits down at a nearby table from the staff room. We can see 3 people watching the MC. The ladies in the staff room start gossiping, pondering whether the MC is Yuzoki's boyfriend or not. One is skeptical as the MC's presence is so faint that it's kind of disappointing. The noise from the inside of the staff room can be heard from outside. The MC can't hear what they're saying, but knows that it's probably related to him. One of the maids come out and gives him a cup of tea and a slice of cake. The MC says that he still hasn't ordered, but the maid shyly asks if the MC is Yuzoki's boyfriend. He says that he is, and the maid says that according to their store's boyfriend special, are entitled to a freebie once a day. The maid restrains herself from talking to the MC about Yuzoki, as she knows that will probably anger her. She then turns around and scurries off. The MC eats the cake and has a sip of tea when Yuzoki comes out of the staff room and calls his name. Yuzoki is dressed up in her maid outfit and asks the MC how does she look. The MC blushes and says that she looks great. Yuzoki calls some of the other maids over. She clears her throat and introduces them to the MC, saying that he is her boyfriend. The other maids start questioning Yuzoki, asking when they started dating and how far they'd gone. The maid who gave the MC the tea and cake says that she wants to know who confessed first. The MC looks at Yuzoki and Yuzoki tells the other maids to calm down. She makes it clear that she was the one who fell in love first, and the other maids applaud her tenacity. One of the maids tell the MC that although he got confessed to, he needs to stay humble. Two of the maids argue about the responsibilities of the one who confessed and the one who got confessed to. Another maid makes a snarky remark, saying old school thinking like that won't lead to getting a boyfriend. Yuzoki tells the MC that her shift is about to start and that she be going. The MC finishes tea and cake and thinks to himself that he should head home before he becomes a bother. He calls over a maid and asks her to let Yuzoki know that he's going to go home. The maid asks him to wait for a bit longer as Yuzoki's shift is almost over. He looks over at the staff room and sees Yuzoki back in her school uniform, saying that they should head home together. She tells the MC that before they head home, there's something that she wants them to go see together.
Sandai asks if Yuazaki has no problem spending too much time with him, because usually Yuazaki is required to go home late at night. Sandai does not want Yuazaki to get into trouble because of that. Yuazaki answers that the deputy manager tells her to spend the rest of the day with Sandai. Inside the cafe, a special boyfriend menu is served so boyfriends can wait for their girlfriends while enjoying their time. That is why the deputy manager asks Sandai to come at the end of Yuazaki's shift if he is going to pick her up. Sandai understands he will follow that order starting now. He does not want to cause any trouble for Yuazaki. Yuazaki blushes, her face turns red. She asks to confirm if Sandai really will do that. Yuazaki thanks him and tightly holds Sandai's hand. Sandai remembers there is a place Yuazaki wants to visit, and he makes sure what place it is. Yuazaki shows that the place is quite nearby. Sandai guesses where Yuazaki means, a park called Memorial Park, and even Sandai has never been there. Yuazaki says the leaves in the park are starting to turn red, a sign that they are getting ready for fall dates. Yuazaki raises her hand and points in a direction. Sandai completely hands over the navigation to the place Yuazaki wants to visit to Yuazaki herself. After they arrive at the park, Yuazaki happily dances among the falling leaves. She looks at the beauty offered by Memorial Park scenery. The beauty of the park is perfected by the street lights that start to glow. Yuazaki is deeply fascinated. Sandai says the atmosphere is getting darker, the day will close itself and turn into night. Yuazaki is enchanted by the beauty of the light illuminating the leaves, making them look reddish. At that moment, Sandai feels grateful because they have the chance to see such a beautiful park. Suddenly, Yuazaki is seen yawning. The makeup at the edge of her face starts to fade. Sandai realizes that Yuazaki might be very tired, that is why he can see her makeup fading on her face. Sandai thinks about what he usually does to help Yuazaki. In the end, Sandai takes the initiative to crouch down and invite Yuazaki to climb onto his back. Sandai wants to carry Yuazaki to the station to ease her exhaustion. Yuazaki thanks Sandai, though she makes sure Sandai promises to tell her if her body feels heavy. Sandai understands he carries Yuazaki with his strength, occasionally adjusting his breathing so he does not appear to struggle in front of Yuazaki. Yuazaki apologizes for making Sandai carry her. Yuazaki feels drowsiness in her eyes. Sandai says Yuazaki can sleep on his back for a while and he will wake her up when they arrive at the station. The two of them finally arrive at the station. Sandai says goodbye to Yuazaki and says see you tomorrow at school. Yuazaki asks for a farewell kiss, and Sandai grants Yuazaki's request. Sandai notices something on Yuazaki's eyelid. He asks about it. Yuazaki covers her face, feeling very embarrassed because maybe her eyeliner is out of place. Yuazaki keeps blocking Sandai so he cannot see her face. Sandai says he wants to tell her something about her rubbing her eyes earlier. Yuazaki makes sure what exactly Sandai says because she feels embarrassed if Sandai sees her messy look. Sandai adds that Yuazaki already looks cute without makeup, although the side of Yuazaki trying to look cute is also cute. So Sandai thinks everything is fine and Yuazaki does not need to feel she looks imperfect. Even though Sandai manages to carry Yuazaki, something pressing against his body is clearly unforgettable. Sandai even feels nervous along the way because of it. By the way, it is still mid-autumn, but people are already preparing to welcome winter. When that time comes, people will give gifts to their loved ones as a form of affection. Sandai thinks he also wants to give a gift to Yuazaki, but he has not thought of what to give yet. He will think about it properly until the time comes. The next day at the school corridor, Sandai and Yuazaki walk together in the corridor. Everyone stares at them. Yuazaki feels happy because she becomes the center of attention. It must be because of what happened some time ago, but maybe now the two of them should be able to walk peacefully in the corridor. Yuazaki says that she is very happy. Yuazaki blushes, feeling proud because she can show everyone that Sandai is her boyfriend. Sandai also blushes hearing Yuazaki's statement. Sandai thinks that he never expects there would be a girl who loves him this much. He seriously needs to give Yuazaki the best gift at Christmas. Sunday arrives, and Sandai searches for gift references, but he still hasn't found something suitable. Sandai feels confused because on the internet it says that accessories would be very much liked, but on the other hand, wearable items are also highly recommended. Everything always has its pros and cons, making it very difficult to choose. He has read and studied a lot of references this week but still remains confused, and if it goes on like this, he will run out of time to prepare the best gift for Yuazaki. Suddenly, the sound of a doorbell rings in his apartment. Sandai looks at the door camera, and it turns out Mickey comes to visit him. Sandai worries about Mickey because she comes alone even though she's still very young. Mickey says she only has to deal with the train and can manage it well. Sandai hands a drink to Mickey. Mickey accepts it with a thank you. Sandai asks what brings Mickey to his apartment. Mickey replies that her sister, Yuazaki, is at work so she is free to go anywhere. So after thinking about it for a while, Mickey decides to visit Sandai. Mickey says she just wants to visit and hang out for a bit. Sandai misunderstands. Mickey sees Sandai's phone still lit on the table. Mickey asks if Sandai plans to buy something for her sister. Sandai confirms. Mickey guesses that Sandai is still confused about choosing a gift for Yuazaki. Mickey suddenly becomes excited to help Sandai so he can shine more in Yuazaki's heart. Mickey says as if she knows a gift that would make Yuazaki happy, so Sandai eagerly follows Mickey's lead. Sandai feels saved by Mickey's visit today. Mickey invites Sandai to go to a store, saying it will be difficult to explain with words so it's better to directly show her recommendation to Sandai. Sandai follows Mickey's reasoning and agrees to go with her. Mickey adds that maybe she wouldn't know about new products if she didn't see them herself. Mickey extends her hand to Sandai. Sandai asks why Mickey does that. Mickey says she won't give interesting information for free. Sandai asks how much Mickey charges. Mickey replies with a reasonable fee for her. Finally, Sandai gives a 500 yen coin to Mickey. Mickey looks at the coin in her hand, feeling confused why Sandai only gives her 500 yen. Sandai says it's his fault because he isn't a rich person. Sandai feels sure that Mickey is a good kid and can tell him just as Yuazaki said some time ago. Mickey gets ready to tell Sandai, but suddenly she says if the gift she recommends is loved by Yuazaki, then Sandai has to give her a bonus, only if it works. After a lot of negotiation, Sandai and Mickey leave the apartment to head to a store. Sandai starts to view Mickey differently, thinking maybe in the future there will be many guys whom Mickey visits just to extort. Mickey invites Sandai to visit a store they once visited some time ago, guessing that the store might have several branches. Sandai understands and still follows Mickey's plan. After walking for a while, Mickey says they have arrived at the store she means. The store turns out to be a bikini shop, with lots of bikini displays visible from the glass window. Sandai is shocked. It turns out this is the place Mickey wants to visit. Sandai does not expect that Mickey will take him to an underwear store. Mickey asks again if Sandai is really going to buy a gift. Mickey says Sandai does not need to worry because she knows Yuazaki's preferences and size. Mickey does not care about Sandai holding back his embarrassment. Mickey says that Yuazaki is a girl who has specific standards about underwear. Mickey asks again whether Sandai does not want to see Yuazaki's happy face. Sandai answers stammering, saying he wants to see Yuazaki happy but he feels awkward. Miki pushes Sandai to enter the store. They are greeted by a very friendly female clerk. The clerk asks what Sandai and Miki are looking for. Miki answers that Sandai is looking for lingerie. Sandai covers his face because he is too embarrassed about this situation. Miki explains to the clerk that Sandai is her sister's boyfriend, so he comes to buy a present. The clerk understands. She approaches Sandai and asks about Yuazaki's body size. Miki says that she brings a notebook, everything is written there from bust size, waist, and so on. The clerk looks at the note brought by Miki, then the clerk says that Yuazaki is a girl with a proportional-looking body. The clerk then asks if there's anything else Yuazaki likes, for example about fabrics and such. Miki answers that her sister likes bright colors and soft fabric, because Yuazaki is a high school girl so she likes cute designs. The clerk understands. She will guide Miki and Sandai to find underwear that suits Yuazaki. Miki feels excited. When looking back, Miki realizes that Sandai is not behind her. Miki sees Sandai pretending to hide behind the wall. Miki approaches Sandai. Sandai says he cannot answer at all if being asked. Miki says Sandai is so pathetic. Miki's words stab Sandai's heart. Miki urges Sandai to quickly choose. Even though actually Sandai still feels confused about which one to choose, Miki emphasizes that Sandai just needs to pick. Miki lifts an underwear with a pattern and says to Sandai maybe underwear like this will make Yuazaki happy. Sandai instead feels nervous because he keeps imagining if Yuazaki wears it. Even Yuazaki's body size is very proportional. Sandai says to Miki that choosing underwear might look a bit too mature. Miki says if Sandai looks, Yuazaki has big breasts. Sandai feels confused and he does not want to imagine it that far. Miki doesn't understand the word far Sandai mentions. Sandai ends the conversation and says to Miki to look for something more normal. Miki says that what she has been choosing is already normal. Sandai stands at a display case and randomly picks one of the hanging underwear. Sandai says maybe that one looks more normal. Miki looks at Sandai's choice, but it turns out the underwear Sandai picks is very, very revealing. However, because Miki thinks Sandai has really thought about his choice, Miki says it's better to take that one. Sandai is surprised with his choice. He just picked it randomly. They go to the cashier to check the price. The total price is 24,580 yen. A very expensive price for a piece of underwear. Sandai even gets shocked when hearing the price. Miki says that products with larger sizes have a more complicated process. Sandai understands. He will pay if Yuazaki's happiness is worth the price of the gift. Miki feels very happy to help Sandai. This mission is complete, and besides, Miki also gets satisfied playing around. They both arrive at the station. Miki tells Sandai not to tell Yuazaki that she played at Sandai's place because it would be very complicated to explain. Sandai agrees. Before going home, Miki asks for one more thing from Sandai. Miki kisses Sandai on the cheek. Miki says if Sandai reports her to Yuazaki, then she will report back that Sandai has been cheating with her. Sandai smiles. He understands it's just Miki's bluff. The train is almost arriving. Miki gets ready to leave. Sandai feels that Miki and Yuazaki have very different personalities, but they both have strong, flowing courage. The time to pick up Yuazaki is almost here. Sandai remembers there might be other events besides Christmas, but they could cost a lot. He starts feeling that he should look for a part-time job starting now. Sandai wants a job that allows him to spend time with Yuazaki, but is there even a job like that? Sandai arrives at the restaurant where Yuazaki works. The assistant manager invites Sandai to come in and sit down to wait because Yuazaki's work is almost done. Sandai enjoys the chair and a piece of cake on the table. It is a privilege given to an employee's boyfriend so he can wait happily while his girlfriend finishes work. Yuazaki finishes her job, and before she meets Sandai, the assistant manager whispers something to her. Yuazaki meets Sandai and apologizes for making him wait. On the way, Yuazaki sees and points at something. It turns out to be taiyaki. Yuazaki wants to buy it. Sandai asks if Yuazaki likes how the food looks. She can take a picture with her phone. Yuazaki says she hasn't been using her phone for a while now. Sandai asks why. Yuazaki says she has been receiving a lot of weird messages, and even though she has blocked many, the messages keep showing up. Sandai guesses maybe that's one of the reasons why Yuazaki has trouble getting along with guys. It must be tough dealing with something like that. Yuazaki, while offering the taiyaki to Sandai, says she will heal her wounds by eating taiyaki from Sandai's hand. Sandai feeds the taiyaki to Yuazaki, but a few drops of ice cream land on Yuazaki's nose. Sandai wipes the ice cream on Yuazaki's nose and tries to put it into her mouth. Sandai says it tastes good. Meanwhile, Yuazaki blushes deeply. Yuazaki says Sandai has done something beyond her imagination, like the string of kisses they had in the past. Sandai feels confused and asks if he should have stopped. Yuazaki doesn't want Sandai to stop, she's just feeling shy. Sandai says if that's the case, then it should be fine. Yuazaki teases Sandai slyly for playing with her feelings. Christmas is coming soon, and many events are happening for people to celebrate. Yuazaki says she has gotten leave for the 25th, but in exchange, she will take a shift on the 24th. Before Christmas Eve begins, Yuazaki really wants to spend the night with Sandai. Yuazaki blushes again. Sandai says of course, he wants that too. Yuazaki knows Sandai doesn't have many friends, so he probably doesn't have other plans that night. Sandai says actually he already planned something and has prepared a present for Yuazaki. Yuazaki feels so happy to hear Sandai has prepared a gift for her. Sandai says it's a Christmas present. Yuazaki gets very excited, her face bright and cheerful. Yuazaki says she also wants to buy a present for Sandai. Sandai just agrees with Yuazaki's excitement. At the beginning of November, Yuazaki gives a box of bento she makes with love. On top of it, there's a heart-shaped condiment made from sakura denbu. Yuazaki apologizes because the heart shape isn't perfect. It's because when she tries to make the heart, her love feels too big to hold back and overflows. Sandai says if Yuazaki spills that love, then he's willing to catch all of it. Their behavior is seen by many students there. Some people start whispering about the two of them. Some say the atmosphere of the school feels different because of their relationship. Others say that some girls actually don't believe they really have a special relationship, and others pay attention to the menu made by Yuazaki in her love-filled bento. Yuazaki asks Sandai how the tamagoyaki she makes tastes. Sandai says it tastes delicious as usual, but a little sweeter compared to yesterday. Yuazaki replies maybe this level of sweetness suits Sandai's taste. Sandai agrees and says both are delicious, but he prefers the one made today. Sandai's words make Yuazaki's heart melt. Sandai says he used to only eat konbini food, so he's really happy to taste such a delicious bento. Meanwhile, Yuazaki says she will try her best to keep making delicious bento. The girls start whispering that maybe Yuazaki and Sandai are a perfect couple, especially since Yuazaki is so good at cooking. The girls feel jealous. After school, when Yuazaki and Sandai are chatting and getting ready to go home, a male student stops them. But the two of them casually continue their conversation and walk past the student. Sandai looks at the student, guessing whether he's speaking to him and Yuazaki. Yuazaki says she has no business with the class president. The class president says he's already heard rumors about their relationship. He says this not to interfere or anything. The class president asks them to look around. There are many students passing by in the corridor. The class president says that everyone is preparing for the school festival, but Sandai and Yuazaki don't seem to be participating in anything. Yuazaki says she's very busy with her part-time job, so she has no time to join the festival preparations. Meanwhile, Sandai doesn't have any good memories about school festivals. Yuazaki says participation is optional, so people who choose to skip it completely can do so. For some introverted people, school festivals don't provide any space at all. But the class president says there's no introverted guy who has a beautiful girlfriend. The class president also says he knows everyone has their own agenda, but it would be great if all students could participate properly. The class president adds that maybe Yuazaki and Sandai don't even know what their class is planning, while in fact their class is planning to make a cafe. The class president bows down and begs Yuazaki and Sandai to participate to attract other students to join in too. He really wants to make this class event a success, because the school festival only happens 3 times during high school. Even next year, everyone will be busy with exams and preparing for the next stage of their careers, so this is the last chance for the class to do their best before it's over. Sandai looks at Yuazaki and they agree to participate together. The class president says his request was very passionately conveyed to Sandai. Meanwhile, everyone watches the conversation between the three of them. Yuazaki kicks the class president's stomach because she's annoyed with his attitude. Yuazaki tells the class president not to rely on other people's boyfriends. The class president squirms on the floor and rolls around, saying he's just really happy. Yuazaki thinks maybe if she had participated from the start, the event would have been much more fun. Sandai agrees. Yuazaki adds that maybe if it's done together, any activity can be fun. If the preparations start tomorrow, then Yuazaki will make time to join. Sandai says Yuazaki is lying. Yuazaki is only thinking about enjoying the festival with Sandai, even though she'll be very tired managing her time. Yuazaki answers that she will make time because that's what everyone wants. Sandai forbids Yuazaki from putting aside her own priorities. Meanwhile, the class president looks very happy. Yuazaki and Sandai are trying to find a way for them to help with the school festival preparations tomorrow. Sandai never even thought he would look forward to a school festival event. The next day, both of them try to help with the school festival preparations. But many people refuse because they feel bad about disturbing a couple in love. Sandai and Yuazaki feel uneasy about this situation, even though they just want to help normally. The girls ask Yuazaki to wear an open maid outfit, but actually Yuazaki doesn't want to wear something like that except for Sandai. The girls ask what exactly Yuazaki wears in front of Sandai. Yuazaki gets nervous because that's not what she meant, and she nervously replies that she wears normal clothes. The girls show the maid outfit they want to offer to Yuazaki. The outfit looks revealing and makes Sandai surprised. Sandai says even the school won't allow such outfits. Finally, the girls conclude that if her boyfriend doesn't agree, then Yuazaki can't be forced. Sandai and Yuazaki sit on the stairs, very confused because they can't find a way to help. The class president has heard the news that both of them went around earlier offering help but didn't get any result. The class president thinks they've been showing too much affection in front of others, that's why no one accepted their offers. Sandai looks warmly at Yuazaki and says they're just trying to be normal. The class president has good news for Yuazaki, who's known to be good at cooking. Yuazaki can help in the cooking section for the school festival preparations. Yuazaki tries to interrupt, but the class president says they're not the type of people who like to refuse. Yuazaki can meet them in the cooking practice room. Meanwhile, the class president excuses himself to finish some class-related matters. Yuazaki feels like the class president just wants to meddle in her business, because actually she just wants to hurry home. Finally, the two of them go to the cooking practice room. Through the window, Yuazaki sees Takasago kneading some dough. Sandai asks if Yuazaki knows her. Yuazaki replies that she does. Sandai asks about the dough she's making because the color looks interesting. Yuazaki answers maybe it's cake dough. Takasago adds some coloring to the dough. Sandai thinks the dough should already be colorful, so there's no need to add any more coloring. But suddenly, they see Takasago's hand get stuck in the cookie dough mold, which makes Takasago in pain. Finally, Yuazaki opens the door to enter the room. Takasago is surprised and hides. Yuazaki tries to calm Takasago down and says she just wants to help her as a class representative. Yuazaki says she loves baking and can help. Takasago looks confused, thinking something about her class president, Shihurin. Shihurin sounds like a luxurious and noble family name. Sandai does not think that the class president has such an impressive name. Takasago tries to confirm whether it is true that Shihuin, as the class president, has ordered Yuazaki and Sandai to help her here. Although actually the word ordered sounds a bit excessive. Yuazaki answers that she receives instructions more or less like that. Yuazaki wants to see what Takasago has made during practice. Takasago shows a cake on a baking tray. It looks like it has just come out of the oven. Unfortunately, it has an unpleasant smell. Takasago says maybe she has done her best for now. Yuazaki and Sandai see the cake is very colorful. Takasago says that they cannot judge a cake by its appearance alone. Finally, Yuazaki and Sandai are going to try the cake. Yuazaki agrees because a cake cannot be judged only from its appearance. Meanwhile, Sandai guesses maybe overseas cakes like this are normal. After swallowing the cake, suddenly Yuazaki faints and falls on the floor. Sandai is very shocked and makes sure Yuazaki is okay. Meanwhile, Takasago apologizes, maybe the taste is not as good as she thinks. Sandai is so worried that he says this is not a taste problem but a life-threatening one. Sandai even offers to call an ambulance. Yuazaki gets up and says that the cake is very dangerous. Sandai does not understand what Yuazaki means. Yuazaki asks Sandai to taste it for himself. Although actually Takasago does not recommend Sandai to taste the cake. When Sandai tastes it, he feels a truly terrible flavor. Sandai and Yuazaki feel maybe their lives are at risk because of that cake. Takasago uses industrial waste as the raw material. Takasago feels very down because other students can carry out the cooking assignment well, while she struggles so much that she decides to practice by herself. Even Shihuin has tried it and also faints, but he tries hard to encourage Takasago to keep improving. Yuazaki and Sandai realize Shihuin has already known how bad the cake tastes and tries to pass it on to the two of them. Takasago wonders whether she really will never be able to make a delicious dessert. Yuazaki says even though it doesn't look convincing, she is very good at making candies, so Yuazaki will teach Takasago until she becomes skilled. Takasago feels very touched even though she has made a poisonous dessert. Yuazaki says they have to trace where the mistake comes from, so Yuazaki and Takasago have to make that dessert again from the start under Yuazaki's supervision. Suddenly, Takasago puts a watercolor paint into the dough, thinking paint can be used as coloring. Yuazaki corrects her that the paint that can be used is food coloring, so it's safe to eat. Suddenly, Takasago takes a toilet cleaner spray and asks whether that thing will be used. Yuazaki answers that such things will be very dangerous for food and can even cause poisoning. Yuazaki again corrects that by washing hands before making dough it will be fine for food, then Yuazaki asks what she will put in next. Takasago answers that because the weather has been cold lately, she will put a body warmer into the dough. Yuazaki and Sandai fall silent, unable to say a word seeing such a strange cooking phenomenon there. Sandai comments that even he cannot make food, but he knows things like that are unnecessary. But maybe Takasago has a serious perspective about what she explains. As an amateur, Sandai will just sit at the side and watch Yuazaki and Takasago cook. Yuazaki puts on a serious face. It seems she is going to try making something. After waiting for a while, Yuazaki cheers and says that the process is complete. Yuazaki calls Sandai to taste the food she makes with Takasago. Honestly, this time Sandai feels a little scared. Sandai actually feels scared to try because he is traumatized from the last time he tried a cake made by Takasago. However, Yuazaki makes an effort to convince Sandai to try it anyway. After trying the cake, Sandai feels that the taste is much better. Yuazaki tells Takasago that if she keeps sticking to the recipe, then everything will be fine. Takasago feels very touched seeing that her creation is finally edible. Takasago cannot believe that in the end, she can make an edible sweet. Yuazaki thinks she is exaggerating too much about it. But if Takasago keeps sticking to the recipe without adding condiments outside of what's supposed to be in it, then the taste will be fine. The clock shows it's already almost evening, it's time for them to go home. Yuazaki and Sandai say goodbye and leave Takasago. Sandai peeks from behind the door, seeing Takasago carefully looking at the food she made. Takasago hopes that Shihuin will praise her for her hard work today. Sandai thinks maybe Shihuin is a quirky class president, but he has a kindness that can captivate everyone, including Takasago. Because Shihuin doesn't immediately leave Takasago even though he has tasted Takasago's bad food before. Yuazaki asks what's wrong, and Sandai answers that for some reason he feels like he wants a kiss. Yuazaki understands and gives a kiss to Sandai. Sandai makes sure no one else is around here. While they are kissing, Sandai hears the sound of footsteps. Sandai's heart races, and Yuazaki says it's normal for the heart to pound and feelings to heat up when kissing. Suddenly someone calls Yuazaki from behind Sandai and startles them. It's Nakoka, she brings a flashlight. Nakoka tries to guess that it's Sandai because of his lab coat from behind. But it's all just her imagination. Yuazaki asks why Sandai is trembling. Sandai says imagining kissing at school still feels nerve-wracking even though he's the one who asked for it. Yuazaki says she would also feel her heart race if someone saw them, that's why they have to be careful. The next day in class, the class president appreciates what Sandai and Yuazaki did yesterday by helping Takasago. The class president also asks Sandai to pass on this appreciation to Yuazaki. Sandai tells Shihuin to say it directly, but Shihuin is too scared because the last time Yuazaki kicked him. Yuazaki listens from behind the door, and she feels annoyed too. Takasago approaches Shihuin and gives him the sweets she made with Yuazaki yesterday, and she made more after going home. Takasago asks Shihuin to taste the result. Takasago says there's nothing weird about this sweet, from its shape, color, and smell. Shihuin tries it and says happily that it tastes like regular sweets and not poison anymore. Takasago thinks even Shihuin considered her previous creation as poison. But a few seconds later, Shihuin changes the word poison into a unique taste. Takasago says that after the festival, it's the final exam and she will support Shihuin to get the best result. Meanwhile, Sandai listens to the two of them. Shihuin says he will get first rank in class and won't lose to that mysterious top student. Even though no one knows who it is, the teacher only announces the score. Takasago says she will celebrate if Shihuin manages to get it and she's sure he will succeed. Yuazaki asks why Sandai's face looks so serious. Sandai shows her Shihuin and Takasago who are chatting about the exam. Sandai says to Yuazaki while holding her hand that he's studied enough and Yuazaki can ask him anything she doesn't know. Sandai also passes on Shihuin's appreciation to Yuazaki. Yuazaki says there's no need to pass on something like that to her. The school festival is held tomorrow, and Sandai can't wait to stroll around with Yuazaki. It seems like Takasago is also already good at making sweets. After class is over, Yuazaki leaves for her part-time job. Meanwhile, Sandai also looks for information through online media about part-time jobs. He reads a job vacancy for a cleaning staff at a medium-sized aquarium, and he thinks maybe the new employees there are mostly foreigners, and becoming a cleaning staff would minimize social interaction. Yuazaki types the phone number of the office he finds, but he feels very nervous to make the call. He tries to convince himself that doing part-time work will give him interesting memories. Finally, Sandai comes to the interview location, and he sees that probably very few people are applying for this job, so he has to control his nervousness. Since no one has opened the door yet, Sandai decides to sit and wait for the others. Suddenly someone arrives, a girl wearing a sweater. She also comes for the interview. Sandai says that he will also do the interview, but the interviewer hasn't come yet, so he's waiting. The girl asks for permission to sit next to Sandai. The girl introduces herself as Siki Hajime. She studies in her second year, and he's the same age as Sandai. Siki apologizes for speaking casually to Sandai. Sandai says it's no problem, especially since they are the same age. Siki feels very happy because the person he meets is someone his age and of the same gender. Sandai is surprised. It turns out Siki is not just a boku, but something more than that.
The story continues as Sandai lowers his gaze with a tense expression and apologizes while asking what was just said, confusion clear on his face. Siki looks back calmly and explains that the feeling comes from being relieved that the first person met is the same sex, the words simple and honest. Sandai looks over with a small smile while Siki asks what is going on. Sandai then turns away and scratches his head, saying it is nothing. Siki leans in with a worried face and wonders if something is stuck on the face and where it might be, eyes searching closely. Sandai panics at the sudden distance and blurts out that the space is too close. Siki moves in even more and urges the truth to be told, the motion knocking Sandai back as curiosity takes over. Mika Kamaki stands in front with a gentle but slightly surprised look, an ID card resting on the chest as calm eyes ask if the pair came for the interview. Sandai freezes in place with raised hands and a startled face, while Siki turns halfway with widened eyes and a soft sound of surprise, posture tense but attentive. Mika sits across the table with a calm and gentle expression, posture straight as a soft apology fills the room for the wait. With steady hands and a polite gaze, the words about starting the interview now flow naturally, creating a sense of order and calm. Sandai and Siki sit side by side, eyes drawn forward as the request to see the resumes sets the moment in motion. Siki lifts the paper with a shy look, holding it close while a small pause shows uncertainty on the face. Sandai raises another paper, eyes widening as the motion feels sudden and awkward. Surprise appears as attention turns to the paper, the thought of it coming from a pocket causing a brief pause. Mika looks down at the papers with a calm face and recalls that both are high school students interested in the janitorial position. Her eyes lift gently as the thought settles, voice steady and clear. The situation turning with the quiet realization that Siki is a boy. Maki noticed, settles on such a cute appearance, gentle and still, holding attention without resistance. C follows as understanding deepens, lingering on such a cute appearance that almost feels like a waste. Mika smiles gently while holding the paper and speaks with a warm tone, noting how Saika seems like someone who could dress well and stand before crowds at events. Siki listens quietly from the side, eyes widening slightly as the meaning settles in. Sandai Fujiwara grows still, caught off guard by the praise and the sudden attention. Siki says that at a previous job there was dressing up in weird costumes. The feeling turns heavy as it was humiliating and the body curls inward. The memory moves to serving customers while wearing a china dress for girls, and the moment feels painfully clear. The scene ends with silent shock from the one watching, and a fragile tension fills the space. Siki lowers the head and pulls a sleeve close, breath shaking as the memory comes out, saying there were older guys ogling, and the feeling made the body tense. The eyes close tight, the face turns red, and a small sound slips out as the discomfort returns. Mika leans forward with worry, sorry forming around the fear of something offensive. Siki turns slightly away, sorry returning as a delicate heart folds inward. The interviewer looks up and calmly explains that the interview ends there, then adds that both are hired. Sandai Fujiwara sits stiffly with a surprised look, while Siki holds a hand to the chest in quiet shock, eyes wide at the sudden turn. Maki noting that janitorial positions are not popular and few applications come in. She continue, first comes guidance about conducting training on work procedures, with assurance that a call will come with a date and time after a couple of days. They answered by an eager yes ma'am from attentive faces. And last but not least follows an introduction. Mika standing firm with a hand on the desk, named as vice chair, 28 years old. The room settling into a fresh beginning filled with quiet excitement. Maki smiles brightly and waves, saying that the meeting is over and looking forward to working together. The hallway grows quiet as Sandai and Siki step out, still processing what just happened. Sandai looks relieved and softly admits that the first job interview ended well, while Siki listens with a shy expression and a faint blush. A small tug at a sleeve breaks the quiet as Siki steps closer, fingers tightening with shy excitement, while Sandai turns in surprise and say that they both getting accepted. A quiet agreement settles first as Sandai reflects that this feels right. Siki thought of being bound to feel lost and in need of advice lingering softly between them. The mood shifts downward as Siki remains close, calm and gentle, sharing the same quiet understanding. Siki stood close while holding a phone, quietly asking for his contact info with a soft tone that felt honest and sincere. Sandai reacted in quiet surprise as the words "my contact info" reached him, his face turning slightly. Then Siki stepped closer with a calm look, explaining that co-workers should have contact info and that it would not be weird. Sandai hesitated and admitted that staying in touch sometimes would be needed, and that exchanging info felt right as the moment settled between both of them. Siki held the phone close with a bright smile and showed clear happiness while saying thanks and feeling glad about the choice. A quiet thought followed about acting all cutesy and how that might be the reason for the strange outfit. Siki held the phone close and calmly asked for phone number, line ID, Glinstam handle, and more while smiling softly. Then Sendai explaining that he do not have all that apps were available, and Siki reacted with surprise and confusion as the words "why raising." Sandai spoke first about being the gloomy loner type and not needing social media. Siki listened closely, and Sandai continued that being quiet still meant being a full-on introvert, and more like that. Siki leaned in with shining eyes, and Sendai softly thought that Siki looked like the bubbly type. Siki reacted with surprise and denied it. Siki then smiled brightly and said this was a great chance to get the apps. Siki lifted the phone with a bright smile and thought about decorating selfies together and posting them like a couple, while Sendai wondering why he was so pushy. The phone held close as excitement showed on the face. Sendai reacted in surprise as the words about meeting by chance through the job and now knowing each other settled in, standing still while listening quietly. Sendai then softened and reflected that this was a new environment and it would be reassuring to have someone close, realizing at last that the wish was simply to be friends and share the moment together. Siki reacted with shock as the idea of joint selfies appeared, while Sendai calmly refused and said no, causing a brief pause filled with surprise. Siki leaned closer with the phone raised and asked how to do it again while guiding the screen with a gentle tap, and Sendai followed along quietly. So now in contacts felt certain as the moment settled and perfect followed with ease. Excitement rising when the idea of working together. Joy showing clearly while looking forward to working with Sendai. Then a quiet pause came as the thought of a friend surfaced, leaving Sendai slightly flustered and awkward, realizing this feeling was new and unfamiliar, yet gentle. Sendai Fujiwara held the phone with a hesitant look, noticing that this was the first person added to contacts besides Shino and thinking there was no need to tell Shino about this. The screen showed the name clearly while an awkward feeling lingered, the thought of never having done this before making the moment feel strange. The scene shifted to the school festival filled with people, the crowd moving around as voices blended together, showing how large the student body was. Shino looked around at the crowd, noticing how many people were there and thinking that it made sense. The surrounding chatter continued as both stood among the festival. The thought continued with how the event had been skipped last year, making everything feel unfamiliar this time. The explanation followed that participation happened last year because there was time for it. Shino spoke about the class putting on a haunted house and mentioned playing a zombie while smiling softly. Sendai listened with a small reaction, taking in the story as it continued. Shino stood in monster makeup and moved with a playful growl while thinking about being so cliché. The act came with raw sounds as the pose held strong. She thought that the performance got great reviews. Many people came to stare and the attention felt heavy but meaningful. A small sense of happiness followed because the monster makeup was on point. Sendai watched and reacted quietly with a simple thought that it made sense. Sendai think with the most famous beauty in the school playing the zombie, the place would surely attract visitors, and the thought lingered warmly as Shino leaned close with shining eyes. A quiet wish followed about being seen by Sendai as the moment felt special and sincere. Both moved forward with resolve, and the plan formed to stay behind the scenes of the cafe today. The feeling settled with a shared promise to do the best. A classroom door marked 2A cafe stood lively with gentle chatter, a girl inside hands holding trays with quiet excitement, while saying one scone please as another voice answered coming right up. Nearby, Sendai turned with a surprised face when Shino asked can grab that honey, eyes widening in shy confusion. Sendai answering this one as gentle tension. Inside the cafe, gentle focus filled the space as Shino leaned over the table and said now to top it off while slowly pouring honey with careful hands. Sendai stood nearby with a nervous face, watching closely and Shino saying putting on more honey might make it too sweet, concern clear in the eyes. Shino turned slightly with calm confidence and explained the flavor changes based on the flower pollen came from, adding that taste depends on the honey, expression soft yet proud. Shino watched closely with gentle focus while holding the honey with care. Shino held the bottle close and explained that this one came from chestnut tree flowers and felt a little bitter as small bees drifted in the air. Sendai listened with a quiet look and touched the chin. He then reflected that it depended on the flower, and that thought made sense in the moment. Sendai reacts with surprise as eyes widen and thoughts pause. Sendai speaks about honey as a term of endearment and wonders about calling Shino with that. Shino stands close while holding honey, and Sendai call her with honey. Shino looks up with bright eyes and a warm smile as hands lift near the face while cheeks turn warm and light. A gentle sway follows as joy grows stronger and heart feels light. The feeling of floating away rises as happiness spreads through the expression. Shino stands close to Sendai as hearts float around the scene and hands move while working, the moment feeling gentle and close. Nearby thoughts drift as admiration forms, with words about wanting a cute girlfriend and a handsome boyfriend rising softly, and another voice noting how lucky it feels to stand beside someone like Yuazaki. A quiet wish follows about getting closer and becoming someone special, while eyes linger and expressions turn thoughtful. Taka stands quietly with a soft gaze. Listening that Shino wanting to think it could happen gives strength to push on. Her eyes gentle as that feeling settles in. Taka's expression turns shy and thoughtful, fingers close to the chest as the thought lingers that someone thinks about her, the feeling making her heart flutter. The moment shifts as an order for 2 iced teas comes up, followed by a light mention of Coke and cookie coming along, with a small macaron waiting as well. As the room suddenly feels busy, Shino turns in surprise, realizing the place has grown popular in a moment. Sandai peeks from the side with a careful look, deciding to take a quick look. The reason becomes clear when the maid appears in a bunny costume, drawing eyes and making the place feel lively and full. The cafe becomes popular in an instant, the cheerful mood spreading as everyone reacts to the charming scene. Bright light fills the cafe as 2 girls in bunny outfits smile with confidence, one raising a drink while greeting guests and inviting them to come on in, the other turning with a playful pose that draws every eye. Surprise spreads as the sight sinks in, thoughts forming about what those outfits are, followed by a quiet realization as people take a closer look. Sendai's worried face appears while a memory rises about how they asked Shino to serve in a scandalous outfit. He thought forms about what they are thinking and how this is the school festival. Sandai arrives at the perfect time and listens. Shihoin appears laughing as the truth comes out about a mistake with the number of signs and one too many made. Shihoin explains that throwing it away would be a waste and suggests using it to attract customers. The board shows Class 2A with cute girls in scandalous outfits and providing services right now. Surprise spreads as the meaning sinks in and the sudden popularity makes sense. Sandai reacts in shock as the meaning sinks in, staring at the sign and thinking it sounds like advertising something strange. Shihoin stands proudly holding the sign and speaks about walking around the school with it, smiling as the bold words about cute girls and outfits shine across the board. Tension rises as sweat forms, the thought of the class president seeing this causing worry. The words about scandalous outfits and attracting people echo loudly in the moment. Shihoin shines with excitement and says give it all until the very end. Passion shows clearly as focus turns sharp and strong. Sandai watches in silence and feels that sense has been lost. The idea of cute girls and bold plans lingers in the air as tension grows. Doubt mixes with worry while determination pushes forward. Thoughts rise that trying to talk to the class president would change nothing. He stands with a calm face while holding the sign and says wandering around aimlessly will not lead to any complaints. A brief pause follows as thought settles in, and the seriousness of the situation becomes clear. The thought of the class president being truly serious sinks in, bringing a heavy feeling. Nakoka-sensei suddenly stops Sandai, gripping his sleeve as sharp concern shows in her eyes, questioning what is with that sign while his calm face turns stiff in surprise. The moment grows tense as Sandai stands frozen, caught off guard by the sudden pull and the serious tone aimed directly at him. Nakoka-sensei glares with clear disapproval, the thought of this not being a nightclub weighing, approving only a cafe and nothing more, leaving Sandai silent under the pressure of her strict gaze. Sandai lowers his head with a troubled look, hesitating as words falter and uncertainty shows across his face. The scene opens to the school festival space, where a sign proudly welcomes first-timers and invites visitors to try Go or Shogi, asking who can win, while Nakoka-sensei stands facing him with a calm but firm presence. The air feels awkward as Sandai gestures toward the display, pointing out that the task was only to carry the sign for advertising, and Sensei answer that the festival is open to the general public. She continue explain about being seen by numbers and the need for consideration for this kind of event. The thought follows that it is too late to change the theme of what is being done, and a quiet response shows acceptance. A firm statement then appears saying the class event will be cancelled. A sign hangs quietly saying the cafe is closed with 2A written below it. A tired expression turns away, showing resignation and acceptance of the situation. A voice insists it is not like there was any physical contact, and the mood feels defensive yet flustered. Another thought follows saying there was only dressing a little sexy, and the tension softens with nervous honesty. Embarrassment hanging in the air, while some people even gave tips, leaving mixed feelings behind. A girl stands firm and speaks with heated eyes, saying all that was done was run a cafe with slightly eccentric outfits. Her voice rises as she insists it is people with dirty minds who see something dirty about this. The tension sharpens as Sensei stares ahead in silence. This time the teacher stands firm and states that the line has been crossed and that the event is open to the public and cannot be treated as playfulness among friends. The girls stand still while the words sink in and the mood turns heavy. A voice slips out with an awkward apology saying sorry so big. Confusion follows as Sensei reacts with why are words like that used. Nakoka Sensei stands with a serious face and speaks about a complaint reaching the principal and how that would become a huge problem. The tone stays firm while mentioning that full protection may not be possible. A quiet reaction follows as the bag is set down with a heavy sound and the mood turns tense. Nakoka Sensei faces the room and states class event cancelled and outfits confiscating them all with a firm gaze that ends the moment. Dismissal follows with permission to enjoy what other classes are doing, and the decision closes the matter without pause. Sandai watches in silence, shoulders tight and eyes fixed as the sudden. Sandai looks ahead and accepts that guess that's it for the school festival as the moment settles quietly. Sandai turns slightly and suggests go see what else is being put on with a soft, steady look. Shino answers sure and steps forward as movement returns and the festival continues. Shihuin raises his voice as that feeling bursts out with the thought that this was supposed to be a memorable school festival. The weight grows heavier as the class president was especially pumped about it. The reason appears as it would not have been a problem if those outfits were not worn. A pause follows as the mood turns to about that. Joy bursts out with talk about being asked to dress up as bunnies or cats and getting an immediate okay reply with a bright, filling, smiling faces. Pride follows as Sandai in charge of costumes stands firm while a quiet thought explains that meaning probably never reached Playboy bunny outfits. Shino doubt slips in with a question about choosing a cute approach rather than a sexy one as playful imagination lingers. A cute image appears that kind, and a clear like this as eyes compare ideas. A sideways glance brings a small well, and a decision forms anyway. Let's go apologize to the class president. As a fortune teller speaks of matchmaking fortunes, while Shino listens closely, and Sandai watches with quiet tension. Sandai and Shino holding a paper that shows likelihood of marriage in the future 100% and being madly in love. Shino smiling brightly while enjoying the treat, the sweet mood lingering. The haunted house sign stands as Sandai points ahead and Shino freezes while fear rises. Shino clings close as tension grows and Sandai stiffens from surprise. Shino admits being bushed and leans closer with a flushed face. Shino asks to be carried as the distance closes and the moment holds. He lets out a small laugh while carrying her on his back. He agrees and moves ahead as she holds on close. She urges him forward and waves him on with go-go. Shino exhales and calls it break time. Sandai points toward the vending machine and says he will buy drinks. She looks up and asks what he is in the mood for. Shino answers that everything is fine while Sandai asks to be treated like a boyfriend. Sandai mentions that many boxed lunches have been made lately. He agrees and she replies that milk tea would be good as he accepts and moves to get it. Sandai holds a drink and walks down the hall. The hallway stays quiet as he waits for a reply. He stops and looks ahead with a question in mind. Someone calls out hippity hop with a light voice. Sensei wearing bunny costume turns back in a rush with flushed cheeks and other clenched fist, while other sensei calling out that Nakoka Sensei is still too embarrassed. The voice rises with frustration as the door stands open behind her. She reacts and insists the act is not bunny-like enough. Nakoka Sensei stands tense in the outfit and admits it does not feel natural to act like a bunny at that age. Sensei speaks with confidence and pushes the idea forward, saying it is fine and still possible because they are still young. The moment ends with doubt and pressure hanging in the air. Nakoka stands in the outfit while a quiet voice wonders if that belief is true, and another voice answers with confidence that it surely is. The instruction follows to truly embody a bunny this time as the count begins. She moves forward in the costume as the action begins, arms lifting while the motion of a jump follows. While Sendai enter the room reacts with "What are you doing?" showing clear surprise as eyes widen and hands pause mid-gesture. He figure watches with quiet focus, posture stiff, expression caught between shock and attention. Nakoka Sensei leans forward with wide eyes and sweat on her face, saying hop along and nothing to see, calling herself a whittle bunny rabbit and not a teacher as her hands tense in panic. The pressure builds while her expression stays forced and flustered. Sandai stands frozen, Thinking time begins as the thought of good blackmail material appears, then fades as respect takes over and the idea is pushed away. Sandai pauses by the door, resting a hand against it as the thought settles that the class president also made a mistake, and that even teachers can make a mistake or two in a moment of weakness. A quiet breath follows as he admits owing her for that. He walks down the hallway with a calm expression, recalling how Nakoka was considerate when Shino and a kiss happened the other day, accepting it as part of the mood. The corridor stays still as the thought lingers, and a distant voice asks what is the matter while he continues forward in silence. Shino Uezaki watches quietly, noticing the grim look and tilting her head with concern. A tired breath follows as he mentions a run-in with a giant rabbit, looking worn while standing beside her. Sandai steps closer and hands over milk tea, brushing aside the tension and offering it calmly, saying never mind and placing the drink forward. She accepts the drink, takes a small sip, and her eyes soften as the taste settles, calling it delicious with a gentle glance, then offering a quiet thanks while the moment eases. Shino looks over with mild curiosity as the news settles in, her eyes lifting while hearing that the school festival will be ending soon. The thought continues as talk turns to a closing party, with mention of going to karaoke afterward. Sandai listens beside her, the idea of celebration lingering between them as the day moves forward. Her expression softens as laughter slips out, and the thought of leaving together settles in. She admits that the same idea crossed her mind. Shino glances aside with a faint smile, suggesting heading home while the concert signs glow behind her. Shino turns with a small smile and says to see each other tomorrow, her voice light as she walks on, leaving him standing there with the quiet of the night. Night settles over the city as the clock reads 10 p.m., tall buildings glowing under the moon. Sandai walks beside Shino, both carrying their bags while the street lights stretch ahead. A thought crosses his mind about how much prep work remains before anime time, his phone lighting up with a soft ping. A phone lights up in Sandai Fujiwara's hand as a message arrives from an unknown number. The screen showing words asking not to tell anyone about what happened in the nurse's office and begging for silence. Confusion crosses his face as he wonders if the message is a scam, then realizes the name must be Shino. The thought lingers as he stares at the screen, uneasy about someone using the school directory for a personal matter, and the name of a teacher slips into his thoughts while concern quietly settles in. A message is typed with steady hands, the words saying nothing was seen, and the send button is pressed without hesitation. Under the dark city sky, the lights of the buildings glow quietly as a heavy breath slips out with a sense of good grief. On Sunday, the induction day for part-timers arrives, and under the bright sky Siki called Sandai with cheerful energy as a hand waves high. A familiar face turns, surprised but calm, returning the greeting with a casual tone. A nervous smile appears as thoughts spill out about today's training and whether everything can be remembered properly. Siki pauses when called, turning with a small start as surprise shows on his face. His voice follows, calm but unsure, saying nothing is wrong while tension lingers in his eyes. The air feels slightly heavy as Sandai admits it feels like a long time has passed, even though the interview was only last week. Siki's expression tightens with quiet embarrassment, asking that such teasing words not be used. Sandai then adds a strange thought about traps, sounding thoughtful rather than serious, which makes Siki blink in confusion and ask if that is some kind of philosophy. Sandai lowers his gaze, fingers near his face, as if caught off guard by the question. Siki tilts his head with a puzzled look as Sandai speaks quietly about how the world feels full of mysteries, his expression calm but distant. The mood shifts lightly as Siki brings up how messages rarely come through, sounding a little curious but not upset. Siki reacts with surprise, mentioning how lonely things felt even after contact information was exchanged, the words coming out more honestly than intended, while Sandai answers calmly that there was no special reason behind it. Siki looks at Sandai with a puzzled face, asking if there is teasing or some kind of strange play. Sandai stands there, unsure, eyes slightly widened as if caught off guard. Siki then lowers the gaze, trying to correct the meaning, saying that was not quite what was meant. He's saying that texting still feels unclear, and that being alone for so long made it hard to understand how it works. Sandai listens closely, then answers by saying that sending the first message would be good, suggesting that reaching out first might help. A quiet thought crosses Siki's face, lips pressed together as the feeling of losing a battle lingers, even without action. A small gesture follows, finger raised with a serious look, as if trying to explain why everything feels like a contest. Nearby, Maki arrives holding a box, calmly noting how arriving 15 minutes early feels admirable. A bright voice cheerfully says good morning, making Sandai freeze in surprise as the words echo too loudly for the time of day. Maki calmly points it out, noting the time without hesitation. Confusion shows on his face as he wonders if it should already be good afternoon, since noon has passed. Siki smiles and explains that in the service industry people usually greet each other with good morning regardless of the time. Sandai listens while Maki stands nearby holding the box. The thought follows that what was said is certainly true. The reason behind it remains unclear, but the moment passes with a gentle understanding between them. Maki opens the box and explains that today's main topic comes first, then asks both to change into the clothes inside. Sandai reacts with a bright voice saying okay, while Siki listens and accepts the moment quietly as the work begins. The box reveals workwear with a logo printed on it, and the meaning becomes clear that the part-time job is finally starting. Excitement shines as Siki leans forward and shows the bread while eyes sparkle, and the thought comes out that they have a drawing of a dolphin on the back. Maki points ahead and says the changing room is over there. Siki turns with a bright smile and urges Sandai to go. Sandai answers with a hesitant, yeah, while looking unsure. Sandai gives a stiff smile and looks flustered as the moment hangs between them. Siki watches with wide eyes and a soft face, then asks what is wrong. Thought forms about just change in the toilet. A sharp reaction rises with why cutting through the moment. Feelings surge and the words do hate echo with surprise and worry. A gentle answer follows saying not hate, just like changing alone okay, while Maki thought drifts through with how nice youth is. Siki looks ahead with a soft gaze and says it is understood. Maki speaks while moving forward and asks about putting belongings in the changing room lockers first. Sandai lifts a hand and steps away with a quick smile and says see in a bit. Siki stands in work clothes and says changing is done and that the locker will be used now. Sandai looks up with a small pause and answers okay while watching quietly as Siki moves to put belongings away. Sandai saying did not have to wait, no thanks for waiting, as warmth shows between close faces. Siki gentle reply follows saying come on, don't say that, wanna get along, don't get it, as eyes meet with quiet hope. Sparkling eyes turn bright and a playful thought flows out saying he no wanna hold hands as the moment turns sweet and exciting. Siki tilts the head and Sandai wonders if that is even something dudes do together, then Siki follows with a light tone saying sure they do if really good buddies. Sandai looks uneasy and listens as the thought continues that he may not know it, but that is pretty much the norm nowadays. A playful turn comes as Siki looks back with a teasing smile and lets out just kidding while cheeks lift with light laughter. A soft gaze follows towards Sandai and the words he's so adorable land gently as embarrassment settles quietly between them. Sandai holds the paper and listeningly explains that if the procedure is followed as written, then it is all okay. That there are not any duties that require a certain degree of mastery of any sort. Instruction comes that the map is at the back and a request appears to please remember it. She explains today aim is for two to get to know the place and how things work, so take it easy. A quick okay rises together from Siki and Sandai with alert faces. Approval follows with very good, and a next step appears saying now then let's start by picking up trash around the premises as Maki smiles and work begins. Maki says she will take care of this area. She says Sandai will take care of that area. She asks Siki to take care of the remaining area. Maki smiles and says to gather here again when finished. A quiet thought forms with picking up trash as Sandai looks ahead and takes in the scene. Hands move with care as tools are held, and a plan settles in with the idea that it might be a good idea to do it steadily and diligently just like studying. Surprise rises at the sight of socks followed by candy wrapper, then tissue as each piece is noticed and lifted in turn. Sandai looks at the trash in his hand and thinks that now that he has picked a lot he never would have guessed there would be all kinds of trash around here. He looks at it with interest. He walks away while saying let's head back and hums lightly as he goes. Maki calls out Sandai too fast as Siki looks on with surprise. A thought follows saying it took quite some time to finish as leaves sway quietly. Another voice explains that boys' and girls' stamina are comparatively different, so it cannot be helped as faces turn thoughtful. A soft blush appears with a small protest Siki saying, but also a boy as he looks aside, and the moment lingers with gentle tension. Maki flustered response breaks in saying, Right, anyway, let's move on to separating them, shall we, as Maki lifts boxes with nervous energy. Maki tells Sandai that he already knows since he has done it himself, and that clearing is such a plain task. Sandai listens while holding the trash, and says he thinks this kind of work is interesting in itself. Maki smiles brightly, and says she really thinks this kind of work is interesting. A calm voice says growth into a very reliable man Sandai, while a note is held, and another thought follows about marking before too late. A firm response comes with apology and having a girlfriend, as Sandai stands straight and honest. Confusion rises as Maki looks close and wonders what is with those eyes while surprise fills the gaze. Sandai says he really does have a girlfriend and asks if that is okay. Maki looks at him and asks what she looks like. Sandai hesitates and asks if he really has to answer that question. Sandai lifts her phone and hands it over while saying, "Here you go." A sudden thought bursts out with "Whoa, what a cute girl," as Shino shows a playful pose and a bright expression. A teasing mood follows with a gentle smile, and the idea appears that if that is Sandai girlfriend, then certainly no chance, as the moment sparkles with light charm. Maki admits wanting a boyfriend right now. Sandai hesitates and thinks an adult targeting a high school boy feels strange. Maki insists she is only 28 and still young. Siki states the age gap is more than 10 years and calls it a crime. Maki laughs and agrees with a light tone. Sandai gives a quiet response in return. A few minutes later appears as Marukawa Aquarium stands quiet. Training ends for today as the guide closes the session. About shifts, a temporary schedule will be sent later, and any problem can be reported. Siki and Sandai answer together with okay. The group agrees to meet again after the opening day. Gratitude fills the space with thanks for hard work and praise for a good job today. Sandai says it is good the training ended without problems. Siki says there is a lot to remember, and both should do their best. Sandai tells her to go home. Siki stops and asks to wait. Siki brings up what was mentioned earlier. Siki brings up the earlier topic and asks if Sandai has a girlfriend. Sandai reacts and asks if Siki heard that talk with Komaki. Siki leans in and asks to see. Sandai is startled. Siki stares at the phone and thinks, whoa, and that girl is way cuter than an idol, and wonders if that is Yuzaki Shino. Sandai asks if Siki knows her. Siki explains that the girl is very popular and talked about at his school. Siki adds that the girl does not use social media, so no one can get her contacts. Sandai reacts and says that explains why many guys see her as rare. Siki nods and agrees with that thought. Siki explains that from what is known, Maki stays off social media because unwanted messages come in. Siki walks beside Sandai and asks if her guard is very tight and wonders how they met. Sandai explains that they are in the same class and that she sits behind him. Siki understands and agrees that it makes sense. Sandai listens quietly while thinking about it. Sandai notices a sweet smell and wonders about it. Siki reacts and says it might be the hand cream just applied. Siki adds that it is a popular brand new product. Sandai asks if Yuzaki uses the same hand cream. Siki confirms it while standing close and smiling. Sandai thinks about it and agrees. Siki explains that the package is also cute, so it is quite popular to give as a present. Sandai thinks about a present. Sandai brings up another thought and asks if it is popular as a Christmas or birthday present. Siki answers yes. Siki listens while walking beside him. Sandai asks what he thinks about girls gifting underwear. Siki looks at him and feels confused and finds it hard to answer. Siki admits feeling perplexed by the idea. In his head, Shino smiles and holds underwear and asks if underwear is normally considered as gifts, and gives an example where Shino gives a male underwear that is slightly obscene and asks what Sandai would think and adds that Sandai would probably think what is she thinking. Sandai walks with Siki and agrees that it is the same. Siki asks if this is about choosing the wrong gift kind of thing. Siki thinks it will be fine. Sandai wonders what that thought is based on. Siki explains that girls have big hearts. Siki adds that they forgive the boy they like even if he has a quirk or two. Sandai explains that people will think that is cute by itself, and that is how it is, and adds that Sandai is feeling better now. Siki waves with a smile and says no prob, see later then. Sandai thinks they worked hard today and wants to go home. Shino reacts softly while walking close. Shino feels the wind and thinks it was very cold. Sandai notices the season and thinks it is already winter. Sandai walks beside Shino in silence. Shino looks at Sandai and asks what is up. Sandai looks away and answers nothing. He thinks there is no way he can tell Shino that he is having trouble preparing a gift for her. Shino suddenly gets an idea and moves close to Sandai. Shino wraps a scarf around Sandai, and Sandai looks surprised. Shino talks about the cold and says Sandai must be warmer now. He feels the scarf and thinks it is warm. Shino looks at the phone and reacts to a direct message and wonders who it is from. Shino checks the screen and realizes it is from her dad and thinks it is unusual. Shino turns to Sandai and repeats what her dad asked about what he is up to now. Shino leans closer to him and asks him to tell her dad about her 2OK. Shino thinks the topic will become the main subject and wants to keep it short. She admits not being into long texts. She remembers that only a name was sent as the first message. Shino laughs and says the history is still saved and asks if Sandai wants to see it. Sandai refuses and reacts with embarrassment. Sandai looks at the phone and wonders how to reply. Shino looks at Sandai and tells him there is no need to think too hard and being natural is enough. Sandai stands with folded arms and thinks that the first words that come out usually hit the best, and that is how it felt to her. Shino looks at the phone and accepts it and thinks all right then. The screen shows a message from Dad asking how things are today, and Sandai types that the girl who sits behind him likes him, and that it looks like he is done for, and wonders if that should be good enough. Sandai admits a mistake and explains the typed name stayed in hiragana instead of katakana. Sandai adds that hiragana looks softer and cuter, so it should be fine. A few days later time passes. Sandai offers to pour another tea. Shino gives thanks. Shino reacts with a soft sound. Shino notices the closet not closing properly and asks to close it. Sandai admits forgetting to close it. Shino watches the door and reacts with seriously. Shino peeks from behind the bag and wonders. Shino opens the bag and lets out surprise. Shino looks inside and asks what is this? Sandai rushes in close and stops her and says she cannot let that happen. Shino freezes and reacts to the sudden move and thinks it scared her, and Sandai tells her she just cannot do that. Shino asks if it is really something that needs to be hidden, and Sandai asks to overlook it for today. Shino pauses and says for today with doubt. Sandai turns away and says he will not give it today no matter what is said, and asks to forget it for now even if curiosity remains. Shino accepts it and says she understands and looks forward to it. Shino leans close to Sandai and says Shino is looking forward to seeing what is inside, and that will wait until Christmas. Sandai freezes and reacts in shock. He laughs in panic. Shino smiles and says it is almost Christmas. Shino stays quiet and keeps smiling. Sandai steps back and asks what is wrong. Shino looks at Sandai and thinks about before Christmas and asks if it is there. Sandai reacts and asks what that is. He pauses and realizes it is end-of-term tests. Shino looks down and says there is a favor to ask. Shino clasps her hands and begs for help with studies and says Shino does not want failing marks. Shino continues and reminds that Shino said before that Sandai would help her study if Shino felt unsure about the upcoming tests. Sandai reacts and says Sandai did say that but wonders if Shino is really asking this now. Sandai stays silent and freezes. Shino adds that the tests are only a week away. Shino says there was no intention to cause trouble. Sandai reacts and says the situation looks bad and looks confused. He talks about putting more time into the part-time job and not having time to think about end-of-term tests. Shino thinks about the subjects being difficult and the risk of failing. Shino admits wanting 2 more weeks, but realizes thinking about it now is useless. Sandai holds the book and thinks that Shino remembered his words from before and came to him. Shino looks uneasy and asks if Sandai is angry. Sandai says not angry and only thinking about how to teach Shino. Shino reacts with a small K and keeps watching. Sandai asks Shino to wait for a bit and says okay. Sandai thinks about the scope of subjects learned so far. Sandai reacts and says 1 week is reckless. Shino apologizes and admits not talking earlier. Sandai adds that there is no need to apologize because trust was already given. He refuses the apology and says responsibility comes with words. Sandai says backing up those words matters. Sandai explains time is tight and the whole week goes to studying and asks if that is okay. Shino agrees and says Shino will do her part. Shino pushes back and says only 1 week and knows that. Shino notices Sandai rolling his textbook and asks why. Sandai repeats not angry and not astonished. Sandai adds there is no time and asks if Shino gets that. Shino flinches as Sandai brings the can closer and says it is natural to go strict when someone matters. Shino protests and insists Sandai is angry and clearly upset. The tension rises as Shino reacts to the closeness, and the words land heavy. Sandai talks about studying hard so Shino can avoid failing marks and keeps the mood light with laughter. Shino answers with full resolve and promises to do her best. Shino and Sandai sit across the table with books open and time set for studying. The page shows study session time as both focus on the work. A book titled How to Form English Sentences from Zero rests in hand. The two sit together on a bench with notes open and study materials shared as the session continues quietly. Students notice Shino standing with a hand on her hip while marks float around and classmates whisper in shock and call it serious. Voices spread that Shino always answers correctly in class and should be smart, and that Sandai is tutoring her. Another voice calls Shino a remedial repeater and wonders why studying even matters. Laughter follows with talk that Shino is the same as the others, and that no matter how much effort Fujiwara puts in it is simply impossible. Shino poses with a peace sign and calls herself the dumbest in the group, while others cheer behind her. Sandai keeps quiet and tells himself to ignore the noisy crowd. Shino stands nearby with a tense look as the voices around them grow loud. Sandai focuses ahead and blocks out the noise while Shino stays still beside him. Sandai reacts with a quiet thought and counts only 4 days left while wondering if time can stretch more. Sandai greets Shino and her attention lifts from the desk. Sandai decides from that day onward Sandai will walk Shino home. Shino freezes and reacts in shock. Shino looks tense and says she is happy, but it would be a pain for him, and asks what is wrong all of a sudden. Shino explains it will be tomorrow by the time he gets home, and Sandai replies it is fine. Shino lowers her head and stays quiet while holding her pen and thinking. Sandai asks if it would inconvenience him, and mentions it would take an hour by train since it was said before. Shino adds there is still a fair distance, and calls it the Bunas. Shino pauses and repeats the word Bunas in quiet surprise. Sandai looks at Shino and asks if something is wrong with that. Shino smiles and says Sandai does not care about that kind of thing, and says she will be in his care while holding the pen close. Shino lowers her gaze and admits frustration as the train passes by. Shino asks if this was what Sandai meant when he said he would walk her home, and wonders if he just realized it. Thought Shino wanted more study focus than lovey-dovey time. Sandai answers that improving study time takes priority. Sandai says using time well is the best way, while Shino reacts with doubt and answers that it might be right. Sandai urges to move to the next page, while Shino insists on tackling another question on the same topic. Shino leans closer and thinks this feels strange while Sandai stays quiet and listens. Sandai thinks one way or another under him guidance she is studying properly and wonders if this is how it should be maybe. Sandai thinks thanks to that the past few days together have been filled with nothing but studying, and feels Shino has been furrowing her brows more and more lately. Sandai looks at Shino and supposes she would get stressed if she keeps doing things she is not used to. Sandai tells Shino that avoiding failing marks would be good and adds that a reward is being considered. Shino reacts with surprise and looks up at him. Shino then answers that the intention is appreciated, but that it is not necessary. Sandai asks if Shino is sure. Shino thinks Sandai always goes out of his way to help her, and if he keeps that up it feels like her wallet will do more than just walk. Sandai says that is all, and there is no need to worry since he is starting a part-time job early next month. Shino snaps that it is only a few days away and asks why Sandai did not tell her sooner. Sandai explains he only got accepted recently too. Sandai adds he was going to tell her, but missed the timing. Shino pauses and thinks then. Shino wonders what will happen to the usual meetings after the shifts begin. Sandai answers that it is fine and that only shifts that allow the meetings will be taken. Shino then asks where the workplace is. Sandai asks what work will be done and whether there will be girls there. Shino pauses in thought and stays silent. Sandai says he will be working as a cleaner at the newly opened aquarium and adds that the vice director there is a woman. Sandai thinks there might be others besides her that he has yet to greet and leaves it at that. Sandai says even so as a cleaner she will not be talking to other people much, and Shino asks how old the vice director is. Sandai looks at Shino and answers while thinking. Sandai thinks he may have asked before, but does not really remember. Shino reacts with a small sound of understanding. Shino thinks about wanting to see Sandai in work mode. Shino asks to go to the aquarium when it opens. Sandai answers that it might not be interesting. Shino says it is not about interest, and it is about wanting to see him. Sandai reacts with surprise and pauses. Sandai thinks about Shino being the first to watch him work. Sandai thinks his part-time job ends before Shino, and believes Shino would never be able to come and see him. Sandai gives a small response, and says he is looking forward to it. Shino accepts it and understands. Shino wonders if it will be fine and waits. Sandai adds that money-wise he is good and does not need to hold back, and also says he will let her know if something is beyond his capabilities. Shino accepts it and understands. Sandai tells Shino to take time. He adds they can think about it later together if passing grades are earned. Shino answers with thanks and feels pleased. Sandai notices the next stop is near. The ride continues as the night view passes, and they almost arrive. Shino points ahead and says her home is that way and mentions the market district, and Sandai recalls seeing it a little on the train. Sandai notices a tofu shop and repeats tofu shop, and Shino confirms there is a tofu shop there, and that is her house. The place looks like a shop that might topple any day, and Shino adds it is only open for 3 hours a day, and Sandai reacts that it is quite short. Shino explains they make the goods and handle deliveries, so the shop cannot stay open long. Shino adds the place is far and few people would come even if it is open. Sandai answers that the parents manage the work by themselves in that case. Shino looks aside in thought. Shino adds that tofu stays cheap everywhere, so profit stays low even when busy. Shino smiles and explains that was why she thought she would do her part and work to at least cover her own expenses. Sandai looks at her and remembers that she said before that the part-time job was because there was no money. They walk together along the quiet street toward her place. Sandai asks if Shino can eat tofu freely since the house runs a tofu shop. Sandai wonders if Shino dislikes it and adds that tofu is not really his type. Shino answers that tofu was eaten a lot long ago. Shino asks for no laughter and admits tofu was eaten less after something caught interest. Sandai agrees quietly as they walk together. Shino pauses and brings it up with a straight face and mentions a rumor that her chest grows huge when tofu is eaten a lot. Sandai looks confused and reacts with never hearing about that before. Shino follows up and says her own grew very big during her last years in primary school. Shino searched hard for a way to stop growth from getting bigger. Shino stopped eating tofu after that. Shino recalled finding a rumor on the phone during middle school. She admitted that boys stared at her chest and she hated it. Sandai thought that might be why Shino was not good with boys. Sandai walks beside Shino and apologizes and says it looks like she had some horrible experiences in the past and trails off. Shino smiles and tells him there is no need to try comforting her. Shino adds that having him listen already makes her more than happy. Shino felt surprised and realized that sharing the story made her feel lighter. Shino pointed out the handmade Yuzaki tofu shop and said it was her house and everyone home too. Shino added that the place was on the second floor. Sandai reacted in shock and thought the flow had gone too far and worried about greeting her parents. Sandai suddenly calls Shino and tells her to hold on a minute while raising his voice. Shino turns back and responds with a small sound of attention. Sandai hesitates and wonders if greeting her parents is going to happen. Shino looks at him quietly and waits for his next words. Shino asked if sending her home today was already decided. Sandai thought the day would come, but still felt unsure. Sandai felt it was already late and thought it was not a good idea. Sandai thought greetings should be done during the day. Shino suggested saying her boyfriend was only sending her home because night could be dangerous. Shino stops and asks to wait. Sandai reacts with confusion as Shino explains that her parents have not heard about Sandai yet. Shino admits that keeping it secret feels better since Mickey might reveal it first anyway. Shino settles on that choice and moves forward with a small sense of resolve. Shino said she would go and call them now. Sandai stopped her and told her to wait a minute. Shino looked at him and asked what was wrong. Sandai said now was not a good time and asked to do it during the day. Shino asked if that was true even after coming this far. Sandai answered that he preferred to do this during the day and not at night. Shino looks ahead and decides it cannot be helped. Shino leans and waits. Shino settles on the usual bye-bye smooch. Sandai panics and thinks that doing that in front of her house feels a bit much. Shino and Sandai leaned close, and their lips met in a brief kiss. Both froze as the moment passed. Shino pulled back and looked at him. Sandai stood close with a nervous face and held his bag. Shino asked if the kiss was shorter than before. Shino noticed the kiss felt shorter than usual. Shino smiles and treats it as a joke. She admits that what happened just now was his fault for being a little too pushy. Shino offers an apology with a soft expression. Shino tells him to be careful on the way back. Sandai thanks her, wishes a good night, and hopes to see her tomorrow. Shino raises her hand and waves from the hallway. Sandai looks back and returns the wave as he leaves. Sandai let out an awkward laugh and looked ahead. Sandai passed the Uezaki tofu sign and sighed. Sandai felt troubled and looked uneasy. A girl covered her mouth and reacted with surprise. She watched Sandai with a shy look. Sandai coughs and admits being caught by Miki-chan. Sandai walks and thinks she really is that kind of girl and believes she found him funny the whole way. Sandai wonders if Shino family is always there waiting whenever she comes home. Sandai recalls that both parents were always busy with work and were hardly ever home when he was a kid, and that was true even now, and they were almost never together. He remembers childhood abroad with a gentle scene of a book called Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and how life was back then. He thinks about both parents, and the quiet feeling stays with him. A child version of him looked back while holding a toy and showed confusion as the thought appeared that the parent's local friend once babysat and could not communicate at all. Sandai then thought that the child was born with poor communication skills or something similar. Sandai walked forward and admitted feeling jealous as the thought lingered. Sandai reflected that brooding had no meaning and decided to focus on helping Shino with her tests. Sandai explains the upcoming math test focuses on calculus, and the integral part is dropped and points come from getting used to derivatives. Shino listens and accepts while Sandai adds that English listening will be dropped since her ears are not used to it. Shino follows along as the plan shifts to reading comprehension. Sandai explains that answers are often written in the exam, and understanding the question is enough to do fine. While Sandai listened and noted that the remaining subjects relied on memorization and thought the study style felt Spartan. Shino urged the use of vocabulary flashcards or apps and said they should be remembered. Shino appeared serious and focused while studying. Shino hesitated and tried to recall the meaning of an effect. Sandai watched quietly and stayed attentive to her effort. Sandai thinks Shino relies on him because she trusts him. Sandai admits honesty about being strict with her for her sake. Sandai urges both to do their best and focuses on Shino. Time passes, and the final moment arrives. Shino faces the day of the test with resolve. Sandai asks if Shino is okay. Shino answers that she is fine. The class shifts as the end of semester exam is about to start. The instruction tells them to pass the question and answer sheets to the person behind. Students react with shock and complain that they do not want this. The room fills with noise as the papers begin to move. He planned to prepare for this, but ended up doing nothing. His belly is acting up. Everyone is called. Shahuin saying exams are meant to be taken quietly. Cease the whispering. Another student complains that the class president is being too loud. Someone looks tired and mentions that Nakato already fell asleep as soon as the exam started and asks to let her sleep. Shahuin reacts and says the obvious was stated while feeling uneasy. Another classmate wonders aloud about winter break supplementary lessons and feels troubled by it. Other hopes the exam is not on the first day of winter break, since it is Christmas. The thought lingers as the class remains restless and uneasy. Sandai slides the paper toward Shino during the test. Sandai looks back and calls Shino, but Shino looks down at the page with quiet answers. Shino looks at Sandai and tells her to do his best. Shino meets her gaze and feels steadied. She nods and holds her notes close. The exam starts and the room grows quiet. Shino begins writing at her desk. Sandai lowers his head and starts writing as well. Shino pauses with the pencil and wonders while staring at the answer sheet. Shahuin coughs and shifts in the seat while another student glances over and Shino keeps holding the pencil. Sandai rests the chin on the hand and thinks about leaving one answer blank and giving the wrong answer for this one. Shino faces Sandai and says that if he gets first place they should celebrate. She adds that she is sure he can place high this year. Sandai stays quiet and listens. Sandai grips his pen and thinks that their relationship could move forward if he gets first place. He adds that he is not too picky about test ranks. Shino thinks that if the average score stays low, the failing grade will follow, and that idea means helping Shino that way feels possible and funny energy pops. Sandai thinks it is not like his score alone can change anything, and that thought stays heavy. Shino panics with the pencil shaking, while Sandai stays calm with a quiet face. Shino keeps writing until the last second. The next day, the teacher announces time is up, and answer sheets will be collected. Shino throws her hand forward and shouts that it is finally over. Sandai looks up and asks how it went. Shino pulls her hand back and says it went pretty okay. Shino reacts loud and surprised and says all answers matched what Sandai taught, and that feels unreal. Sandai explains that the trend was noticed and nothing more, and he starts with rather. He wonders if that is how things usually go, and she feels unsure. Sandai replies that surprise makes it sound like life is handled without planning most of the time. Sandai answers that the move only happens when problems show up, and that is when things get serious. Shino cups her face and leans forward while saying that part of him feels lovable. Sandai scratches his head and looks flustered as classmates notice the mood. Shino smiles and thinks about the results and says the score does not matter because the feeling right now feels like the best moment of her life. Sandai wonders why Shino cared so much about avoiding failing grades now that the topic comes up. Sandai explains that the remedials will be held on the first day of winter break and asks what is wrong with that. Shino pouts and stays quiet while thinking. Shino snaps and states that the first day of winter break is the 24th and calls Sandai a dummy. Sandai reacts and understands and says that is why. Then Sandai reminds him they promised to spend that day together. Shino answers that it lasts a few days and affects her shifts. Shino answers that it lasts a few days. Shino looks uneasy and thinks that would ruin his plans, and Sandai asks if Shino is serious. Shino leans closer and asks what that means while reacting in surprise. Sandai looks flustered and says it only crossed his mind and has no deep meaning, and says now they can only wait for results. A few days later, time passes at school. Shino holds the paper and celebrates that the result is done. Shino barely passed all subjects and declares success. Others react in shock and note that they failed all subjects. Sandai pats Shino and praises her for improving and says well done while Shino reacts with a shy face and thanks him. Another student complains they were backstabbed, even though the remedial buddy was supposed to help. Other girl looks flustered as the talk shifts to the first day of remedial being on the 24th and how scary it feels. A loud shout explodes through the room as a Shahuin clenches a fist and yells in frustration. The noise draws attention fast. Students freeze and stare. One student wonders what is going on. Another looks confused and startled. The room fills with tension and quiet shock. Shahuin shouts that he is finally ranked first and that he broke through the wall at last. Shahuin grips the desk and breathes out and thinks finally. A classmate claps and gives congratulations. Sandai stands proud and loud. Sensei steps in and says the joy must pause because one student needs to be called out. Sensei calls Sandai by name and orders him to come to the faculty room after school, while Shino looks tense. Sensei says they need to talk while Sandai looks confused. Shino reacts and asks what that is about while Sensei asks why Shino is the one reacting. Sensei says she is not calling him to nag and tells her to relax. Shino asks why not talk to him right there and then. The girls stare in shock while Shahuin freezes in place. Sandai flails and says it is nothing serious and says it cannot be done there. Sensei explains that there is no reason to worry and Sandai will be called to the faculty room so the talk can stay private. Shino processes the words and thinks it sounds like a one-on-one interview. Sandai agrees again. Sensei says it seems he is convinced. Shino leans close while Sensei tells him to let her know right away if something strange happens. Sandai nods and says he got it. Sandai lets out a small breath in relief. They walk past the faculty room door as the moment settles. Sensei leans on her hand and remarks that Yuazaki acts like a rabid dog. Sandai points out that Shino was taught that eternal remedial plan so passing grades would happen. Sensei speaks about how teaching others is not easy and not everyone can do it. She adds that for a homeroom teacher, having a student who usually fails finally pass is always welcome. Sandai listens quietly. Sandai looks ahead and Sensei admits she wanted to say that. Sensei continues and adds that there is still another point to consider. Sandai hears that there were obvious signs from the answer sheets that the average score was being lowered on purpose. Sandai is told that the overall scores are still far above the average line, and there is nothing more to say. Sandai lets out a quiet breath and feels relieved. Sandai looks unsure and asks if that was all, then there was no reason to call her here. Sensei looks away and hesitates. She admits that was only a pretext, admits what she really wanted to talk about. A dark-haired woman brings up the text message sent after the school festival. Sensei leans close in a playful costume, and Sandai realizes what that means. Sandai brushes it off and asks what that is supposed to mean. Sandai recalls that the class booth got suspended in the middle of service. He remembers Shino and Sandai enjoying the festival together, and that is all. Sensei smiles and says it is wonderful and praises how well Sandai reads the room. Sandai says it is fine and will take leave then. Sensei feels relieved and breathes out. Sensei watches and thinks Sandai is still the same emotionless kid from years ago and thinks Sandai probably does not remember her. She adds that it does not matter anyway. Sandai feels honored and prepares to leave. Sandai asks Shino if waiting happened. Shino wonders what talking happened. Shino thinks and Sandai recalls praise for teaching and nothing more. Sandai remembers something. Shino asks what is up. Sandai explains that while waiting Takasago-chan came up and asked for help. Sandai adds that she wanted more detail later and wondered if help was possible. Sandai accepts and says help is fine. Shino tells Sandai that they should talk more after her shift. Time passes and several hours later the city is quiet. Sandai thinks about how little things could move Shino with ease and feels tired. Sandai walks with her and guesses it is about the president. Sandai mentions the boyfriend privilege black tea and says it feels normal after coming here often. Tasego hesitates and reacts softly. Evening falls as Sandai meets Tasego and the greeting lands soft. Tasego stands holding a coat and wishes good evening. Sandai invites her to take a seat and Tasego agrees. She settles down and explains that Shino called so coming here felt natural. Takasago sits at the table and calls the cafe wonderful while holding her hands together. Sandai agrees and says that makes sense. The staff asks if Takasago is used to the place, and Takasago admits it felt strange at first. Sandai responds that he felt the same at the beginning, and now it feels normal. Sandai adds that coming here almost every day to pick up made the place feel familiar. Takasago asks if Sandai acted on his own or was asked, and Sandai answers that it was his own choice. Takasago reflects on how that kind of bond gets built and admits feeling jealous. Sandai looks unsure and asks if something was said. Takasago waves it off and denies saying anything. Sandai responds by recalling that Shino was asked for a favor and the question lingers. Takasago then asks how much Sandai heard from Shino. Takasago asks if Shino still has not told him, and Sandai reacts with confusion. Sandai admits there was not much time before shifts and adds that things are already kind of known. Sandai looks at her and realizes it is about the prez. Takasago turns red and blurts that Sandai already knew even though nothing was said yet. Sandai answers that it was only a guess. Takasago stumbles and admits it might have slipped out. Sandai explains that it was clear during the school festival. Sandai thinks it would be better to ask Shino for details when she is here and decides that asking now would only lead to rushed conclusions. Shino waves and announces that she is done. Takasago slumps over the table and looks drained. Sandai notices and asks what is going on. Shino pauses nearby and looks confused. Shino stops him and asks if Sandai already knew that Takasago liked the president. Sandai admits noticing it during the festival and says she was easy to read. Sandai responds that he really did not notice until she came to him. Takasago sits there flustered while everything becomes obvious. Shino reacts and tells him to cut her some slack since she was not interested in anyone else at the time. Sandai asks how things ended up needing his help. Shino admits she first thought she could handle it alone, but tells the truth that she does not know much about boys. Takasago asks if Shino does not know much about boys. Shino says Sandai is her first boyfriend, so that is why. Takasago says that is unexpected and thought Shino had plenty of experience. Shino answers with a simple no. Shino adds that is the reason. Shino admits she thought of asking Sandai since he is a boy. Sandai reacts in surprise. Shino explains she is not close with Prez and hesitates about asking her. Takasago wonders if their personalities do not match. Shino says he is a good guy but gets on her nerves. Takasago presses and asks if Shuin did something to Shino. Sandai adds he only hugged her so she would not get too pumped. Takasago bows and asks to apologize on Sandai's behalf. Shino looks calm and says it does not matter, and says there is no need to worry since it is only a small difference in opinion. Takasago pauses and accepts that answer. Shino keeps her gaze steady while Takasago relaxes and nods. The air settles and both stay quiet as the talk ends. Takasago confirms the idea and checks if that is the reason. Shino explains the topic returns to wanting to give him a birthday present and needing help to learn what he likes. Takasago agrees and confirms it. Shino adds his birthday is on the 15th, and she wants to give it on that day. Sandai notes it can also double as a reward for topping the grade rankings. Shino admits asking directly would fail because he would run away if she asked. Shino adds Sandai likely does not want to get close to him. Shino raises a finger and says the only option is to find out indirectly and adds that it means investigation. Sandai looks confused while Shino leans in with confidence and repeats that it means investigation. Sandai reacts with surprise and asks if that means following him or something. Takasago watches quietly as the idea settles between them. Shino jumps in with full agreement and pushes the idea hard while Sandai reacts with disbelief. Takasago urges to talk about action first and leave talk for later. Shino wonders if help is even needed and admits doing it alone would miss things because boys are hard to read. Shino shifts into playful mode and claims detectives find clues by going straight to the crime scene. Shino says it is fine and explains that following someone only feels bad because it sounds bad while Sandai hesitates and says investigating sounds wrong. Shino adds that is why the word investigate was used while Takasago worries about Shiohiri privacy. Shino smiles and says that is exactly why the plan works. Shino then says the next step is to move forward with the investigation and adds that once Shino decides something it goes all in. Takasago looks uneasy while Sandai listens as the plan becomes clear. Shino teases Takasago and notes she passed on playing detectives with them. Sandai admits it cannot be helped and says anyone would get cold feet if asked to tail someone. Shihoin stands thinking and reads a book while Shino wonders what he is reading. Shino guesses it might be an academic paperback or something similar. Shino guesses it looks like a complicated book and Sandai agrees. Shihoin stands and checks the clock then moves to leave as Shino reacts in surprise and Sandai watches in silence. Shino leans close and quietly urges to go. Sandai follows as they decide to move after him while the city stretches out ahead. Shino thinks he checked the clock earlier and wonders if he is going home or has somewhere to be. Shihoin looks ahead and stops with a quiet pause as someone walks away in the distance. Shihoin keeps watching and the silence stretches while Shino and Sandai walks farther down the street. Shihoin turns around confused and reacts to the sudden closeness. They move close and Shino notes that was close. Sandai looks around and notes that it is a building filled with cram schools. Shino looks up at the building and says it looks like it will cost a lot. Shino reacts with a troubled sound and stays uneasy about it. Sandai points out that waiting there is not an option until Prez comes out. Shino quickly suggests waiting somewhere else and says a window seat would let them watch the entrance. Sandai considers it and agrees while looking in the same direction. They turn their attention to the nearby cafe and settle on waiting there until Prez finishes. Shino rests her face in her hands and wonders if Prez is taking too long. Sandai checks the phone and notes that it is already past 8 p.m. Shino questions if studying at a cram school really takes that long. Sandai suggests that Prez might have chosen a real Spartan course. Shino adds that this is happening even though Prez is still only a second year. Sandai suddenly remembers something and trails off with a quiet thought by the way. Sandai asks if she remembers the talk about a present if she managed to avoid failing marks. Shino answers that of course she remembers, and there is no way she would forget. Shino blushes and softly says Sandai. Sandai says that in the end she is thinking of giving her something to remember their study session. Shino looks unsure and asks if she really said that. Sandai brings up the time she went to his house the other day. Shino reacts with interest and says that an onsen sounds nice. Sandai replies that she did and asks her to remember. Sandai calls and asks to make a reservation. He asks if there are any vacancies after the 24th this month and wants to reserve one room for 2 adults. The reply understands and confirms the year, then says the place seems fully booked and asks to hold. Shino looks at Sandai and asks where he is. The reply says there is only a room free on the 28th and asks if he wants to reserve it. Shino reacts fast and agrees at once. Sandai pauses while holding the phone. Sandai speaks in a low voice and says he just sort of thought about it, and Shino answers with a shy tone that she understands. Shino reacts with surprise and asks if it is really fine, and Sandai responds that it is fine and that he already searched for a good onsen in before. Shino covers her mouth and looks relieved while reacting with excitement about the plan. Sandai looks away slightly and agrees while saying that is how it is. Sandai turns and says since they are going to spend the night together. Shino answers that going without greeting parents would be very rude. Sandai says that is why he wants to visit her house before they go on the onsen trip Shino. Shino hesitates and asks how to say it, and says Shino did it in the heat of the moment, and asks if he is pushing it. Sandai answers not at all, and says an impetus is important for these things. Shino looks ahead and takes in the moment. Shino understands and shows a soft smile. The time shows 20:52 on Wednesday. Shihoin walks ahead and notes that the prez is out and they should go. Shihoin steps into the bookstore. Sandai notices the bookstore and suggests going inside while Shino agrees it might match his taste. Shihoin stands by the shelf and asks about the red book. Shino reaches out and pulls the book free. Shino explains it is a book of university admission past exam questions and calls it the red book. Shino adds that Sandai just finished cram school yet still thinks about studying. Shino admits preferring this over studying for entrance exams. The cover shows ways to kiss and deepen love. Sandai reacts and calls it quite a book. Shino asks to wait there and says she will go and pay now. Shihoin reacts with a small sound of surprise. Shino picks up a book and hides part of her face while looking at the cover. Shihoin stands near the counter while Sandai moves ahead. Shihoin notices something odd and feels a familiar voice nearby. Shihoin looks around and thinks it feels strange. Shino hesitates and tries to speak while Sandai presses the moment and warns that the situation is important and the cover could be blown, and Shino urges silence. Sandai reminds that Shino promised to wait for the findings and asks why Shino is here. Takasago appears between the shelves and Shino reacts in surprise at Takasago. The three stand facing each other in the library with the tension fully exposed. Takasago apologizes and feels bad for leaving Shino and Sandai together and admits the truth from the start. Shihoin realizes it was those two and calls it out. Shihoin covers his mouth and reacts to Prez with shock. Shihoin confirms the feeling of strange gazes all day. Shino stays close to Sandai while listening. Takasago steps closer and calls out to Shihoin with a small hesitant voice. Shihoin turns toward Takasago and questions whether he was also being followed. Shihoin admits that being tailed does not feel pleasant at all. Shihoin looks at Takasago and asks why she is there. Takasago hesitates and struggles to respond. Takasago turns red and admits it is about Shihoin, and her feelings start to spill out before the words fully form.